What's up, guys and gals? Can you guys hear me? What's up, guys and gals? My name is Escalating, and welcome to Remember11. Um, Remember11, Part 2. This is a stream, so if you are seeing this on demand, if there's nothing going on for the first minute or two, just skip ahead. But yeah. It is definitely up now. I want to see how the latency is. Welcome bot-headed to the stream. So, I don't think the latency or the delay is that bad. Let's see. I know. When you hear me say I'll say a code word, I'll say apple. When you hear me say apple, type something in chat. Apple. Okay. It's like 10 seconds, that's not bad. So, without further ado, let's get right into the stream. Loading complete. What? Oh. Continue. Load. Shortcut? I don't know what that is. I don't want to risk it. Alright. Art, body, and tranquilizers. That's where we are. And I'm getting spammed on Discord. Let's not get spammed on Discord. There we go. Load file. There we go. And this is where we left off. I'm pretty sure we just swapped. We swapped over to what's his name's perspective? The other dude. I forget his name. It's been a few days. I should probably remember, but I don't. Sorry. My body flinched in surprise at hearing the sudden sound. There were fragments of a broken cup at my feet. Why were there cups? I guess I threw cups in anger. Had there even been cups like that in the cabin? No, I shouldn't have been holding any cups in the first place. What I was holding was that cryptic newspaper. Oh dear God. Surprised again, I turned my head in the direction of the voice. All of a sudden, I saw the brown-skinned woman who had slapped me in my dream. I was confused. Sort it out. I have to sort it out. The things inside my head. Sort them out. The more I tried, the more of a mess it seemed to become. Calm down. Calm down, Fukakoro. And then the brown-skinned woman rushed over to me. She peered worriedly at my face. Where does it hurt? Nowhere, really. Except in my head. I shook my head reflexively. The woman knelt in front of me and started to pick up the fragments of the broken cups. She glanced at me and then looked up at me with a worried expression on her face. No, I'm not injured. I'm good. I'm all good. Her kind behavior left me bewildered. It was totally different than before. I asked as I shielded away from the woman. Shied, not shield. Uni was there. This isn't Uni. He looked at me with a teasing smile. I surveyed my surroundings. It wasn't the shelter cabin. Something came back to me. This room, too, I'd been in the dream I had before. Inside the room, there were two people besides myself. I remember seeing these two. The two people are the same as in the dream from before, the brown-skinned woman and Uni. In addition, beyond the living area, a single girl casually appeared. I remember seeing the girl, too. Minabushi Keiko. Everyone stared at me with suspicion in their eyes. It was a name I've heard somewhere before, though where I heard it I can't remember. Or was it just my imagination? Come on. The name Satoru is pretty common. No, something like that doesn't matter. Just what does this mean? If I remember correctly, I was reading a strange article in the newspaper. In the article, it had information about the plane crash, as well as information about Uni being rescued. And it was written there that I was going to die. I don't remember anything after that. I was at my wit's end. I wondered what happened to me after I saw the newspaper. I wondered what I did then. Brown-skinned woman softly placed her hand on my shoulder. I shook it off unintentionally. However, I saw the woman's uneasy expression, and what I did became inexcusable. I was probably seeing the same dream again. The dream I had had before I regained consciousness in the shelter cabin. That time I saw my own appearance in the glass. That shouldn't be. Praying that, I ran over to the large window on the south side of the living area. The window should reflect my appearance like a mirror. It certainly did reflect it. Not me, but a man I've never seen before appeared there. In the last dream, the last thing I saw was this man. It wasn't a lie. The man reflected in the window. He had the exact same movements as myself. He shook his head as if saying no, no, and covered his mouth in shock, and I saw myself right away. This is me? That shouldn't be. Something like that can't possibly be. Uni stood right behind me. Beside me, he looked up at me. I felt as if Uni had grown shorter somehow. Uni had gotten smaller. No, it was me who had gotten bigger. I grabbed Uni by his slender shoulders. Stop freaking out. Without violently shaking, I questioned him. Uni's face became distorted. The brown-skinned woman clung to me. Suddenly, tears started flowing from Uni's round eyes. I became panicked and released him. Strange, I don't remember gripping him that tightly. I don't believe you. I turned to the brown-skinned woman. I asked with my eyes. There was an unpleasant feeling in the woman's tone. She turned her eyes away from me. The next word out of her mouth was a shocking one. Of course, I know of an institution called Sphere. The place where Inabushi Keiko was being held, an institution where the mentally unsound were isolated. The place where I was supposed to go. If the airplane incident hadn't occurred, I would have arrived at Sphere with no problems. Are you saying this is Sphere? Why am I at Sphere? Uni had become frightened by my violent attitude from a little while ago. Uni's eyes widened. Following his gaze, my eyes met the glass window that had reflected the figure of the male me. Even now, there was a man standing beside Uni after all. He wasn't reflecting me. Uni's eyes were looking at the man reflected in the window. In other words, Satoru is me? I approached the window one more time. I was being looked at with eyes I'd never seen before. It was quite a fearless face. Cheeks and nose, mouth and forehead, I touched everything I saw. The man reflected in the mirror made the exact same movements. As a test, I stuck out my tongue. The man did the same. Contemptuous laughter resounded in the air for the moment. Like a staring contest. Various facial expressions were made. The man beamed a lovely smile. I feel sick. I wanted to cry. The man reflected in the mirror gave a smile that looked almost tearful as well. Pathetic face. Muttering that, something suddenly hit me. Oh no! Oh no! The woman shook her head as though shocked. Oh my gosh. It's no good, our conversation's going nowhere. Hey Aaron, welcome to the stream. I started running. If this building is the same as the one in the dream I had before, I'd have at least a general idea of where it is. While running, I thought, it's a little hard to run, isn't it? Oh no. Are you serious? Jesus Christ. Hard to run. I found the bathroom and rushed inside. It seems my body's sensations are different than usual. My shoulder slams into the door frame at full speed. It hurts, but now's not the time for that. I opened the bathroom door. Timidly, I brushed my body over my clothes. It was solidly built. But it seems my body didn't get that much bigger. Medium build, average height, somewhere around there. For a woman like me, that was plenty built, however. My chest doesn't stick out the way it should. It was a little bit of a shock. There was a sense of incompatibility with my lower half, to be precise, the area between the legs. My cheeks grew hot with embarrassment. No, this isn't the time to feel embarrassed by this. With my heart beating a little fast, I took off the belt on my trousers. I pulled down the zipper. I lowered the trousers. This is unpleasant. Yes, this is an emergency situation. An emergency situation. While I desperately persuaded myself, I gripped the elastic of the waistband and pulled it back. I still glanced downward to the interior of my pants and... The world spins. My consciousness fades. Jeez, I don't want to believe anything anymore. When I opened my eyes, I was looking at it. They found him fainted on the ground with his pants off. When I opened my eyes, I was looking at an unfamiliar ceiling. I had been sleeping in bed. My head hurt. I checked it right away and felt a bump. Moreover, what a horrible dream. Becoming a man, that doesn't happen outside of nightmares. Just then I sensed a person's presence right next to me. Their eyes staring this way. I rose with a start. The person standing there was not Yomogi, nor Mayuzumi, nor Uni. It was Inabushi Keiko. I jumped up in a panic. But Inabushi Keiko looked even more panicked than I was. But her body shook so hard she fell from the chair she was sitting on. She looked at me with frightened eyes. She didn't look the least bit like a brutal murderer. Thanks to that, I relaxed and lowered my guard completely. Fainting in a dream and then waking up in a dream, it was a strange feeling. I think our protagonist is a little too dense right now. I sighed deeply. Bowing slightly, Inabushi Keiko shook her head. Somehow she gave off a rather docile impression. She was completely different from what I had imagined after reading the file. Of course, it was a dream after all. Inabushi Keiko stood up and walked over to the desk. I looked around the room. I fainted in the bathroom and lost consciousness, it seemed. If they found something like that attached to the lower half of their body, I'm sure anyone would faint too. Clinging to that small hope, I tried shifting my lower body. As I thought, there was an incompatibility. It seemed I was still a man. It was a dream after all. I was having a... That was why it wasn't strange for Inabushi Keiko to be here. If it was a dream, then I would just have to defy it. That way, I would probably wake up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Please don't kill her. And hesitantly offered her hand. In it was a glass. It was full of water. For a moment, I didn't know what she was doing. It seemed that she had brought some water for me, and even though I'd noticed this, it took a while for me to realize. Oh my gosh. She had fainted because all her blood rushed into that giant sausage. That's, okay. I took it confused. Inabushi only nodded. I didn't know she had slipped poison into the water she had brought me, and it was a little hesitant. But in the end, I drank it. It was a dream, so it didn't matter to me if there was any poison in it. I chugged it down in one gulp. I seemed to be thirstier than I expected. The water was delicious. Inabushi quietly stared at me without breathing. He seemed to be looking at my complexion. When I called her, Inabushi shook her head. Inabushi looked around the room and picked up the notepad on top of the desk. She enthusiastically wrote something on it. Not long after, she hesitantly presented me with the notepad. I took it without quite understanding why. Not Inabushi. Hotaru. Inabushi took back the notepad and this time ran the pen over it slightly rudely. My name is Suzukage Hotaru. The girl nodded sharply, but I wasn't sure I'd seen her name wrong. I was sure I hadn't seen her name wrong. This girl, she's Inabushi Keiko. Was she lying? If so, why? I observed the girl who had introduced herself as Hotaru. The girl turned her eyes towards me. It didn't seem like she was lying. Then it occurred to me. Multiple personalities. Dissociative identity disorder. Inside Inabushi Keiko, there were multiple personalities. In other words, Suzukage Hotaru was a separate personality of Inabushi Keiko. Furthermore, it was possible that whenever she became Suzukage Hotaru, she suffered a temporary loss of speech. If aphasia was a mental problem, then Inabushi Keiko being able to talk while Suzukage Hotaru couldn't was very possible. Another possibility is that the main personality, Inabushi Keiko, had become unable to talk for some reason. But why, is the question. In the meanwhile, I decided to go along with her. It didn't matter how many times I tried saying, "You are Inabushi Keiko" to her, as the Hotaru personality probably didn't even know her. It had been established that in the case with a person with multiple personalities, the different alters were not conscious of one another. No matter how one might try to explain it, it would probably be useless. I felt a little sorry for her. It was possible she was suffering in her own way too. No, wait. And this was something from inside my dream. It was not certain that the real Inabushi Keiko had another personality named Suzukage Hotaru within her. Yes, this is just a dream I've been having. It was only a dream, so it shouldn't be impossible for anything to happen. Cool. I tried to talk as gently as possible. The girl blinked in surprise and answered my call. Even if it was an absurd dream, it originated from the experiences and the observations in my own brain's memory. In other words, even if they were unconscious, they were things I knew, they were things I had experienced in the past even if I didn't remember. That was at Sphia, that is, had called me Satoru. Had I met a man named Satoru in the past? I shouldn't know anyone called Satoru well enough to see them in my dreams. Yeah, it is a bit annoying, you're right, but... Hotaru tilted her head. She probably didn't know. My question is, does she still sound like a girl to herself? Because to me she does. But everybody else would notice if she did, so why does she sound like a girl to herself but not to everybody else? An adult pain ran through my head as I touched the bump at the back of it. Hotaru quickly got up from my bedside to pick up a wet towel. She gently placed it under my head. It was pleasantly cool, the pain receded. Hotaru nodded sharply, expressionless. This woman has to put up with my shit. I feel bad for her. Everyone else hears a male voice? What about Kokoro herself? This time the brown-skinned woman entered the room. She saw me being nursed by Hotaru and laughed gently. The woman's smile became strained for just a moment. I became aghast. Now that she mentioned it, I certainly had fainted in an extremely embarrassed position. No, the body itself isn't mine. I apologized by reflex. The woman was wrapped in a kind atmosphere that seemed to be able to forgive anything. Now that I thought about it, I still haven't heard her name.
お名前聞いてませんでしたよね。
The woman's expression became a little tenser. What does I see mean? I wondered. However, the woman changed back to a radiant attitude at once.
私は内海カーリー。よろしくね。
Kali. I was wondering if she was half Japanese after all. A name I had never heard before. Why were people I didn't know appearing even though it was my dream?
あなたは？あなたの名前教えてくれる？私は冬川心。やっぱりね。
Utsumi bent down and glanced at my face. Her eyes were fixed, looking straight at
い
me.
い？落ち着いて聞いて。何？あなたは DID よ。わかる？乖離性。知ってます。
I see, it's obvious to think
あ
that.
なたは冬川心さんであると同時に結城堂悟さん。もういいですってば。
Interrupting Utsumi's words, I got up from my bed. I had DID? Yes, that may have been true. Seeing how, even though as a woman I had a man's body, something like that didn't matter. This was a dream, so having DID wasn't a big deal. It was probably because I was unconsciously thinking about Unobushi Keiko. Now that I had thought about it, before I got onto the plane that crashed, I remembered being really nervous. The nervousness over interviewing a murderous monster, such a rare and horrific killer, had burned itself into my brain, and thus I had a dream like this. Stop calling it a dream, you idiot.
サトル、起きたんだ。
This time it was Yuni who had entered the room. After seeing me, he called me Satoru without hesitation. Yukido Satoru. I was mistakenly called that even at the shelter cabin. Can't you ask him about the shelter cabin and what happened and how they died? Try that. Yuni hesitantly looked up at me. It was probably because I scared him earlier.
大丈夫。
I wanted to say the same thing right back at him. Yuni didn't look so good. His face was awfully pale.
サトルだよね。
Yes. Well, I let out a sigh. Not really. Explaining that I was Fuka Kokoro again was a bother. He wouldn't believe me anyway. I have the ID after all. It was a dream, so who I was didn't matter.
そうね。そうらしいわ。
My head was throbbing again a little. Was this pain a dream too? Even though the feeling was so clear. Thinking that, I got a little scared. This is really a dream, isn't it? My eyes met Hotaru's. DID. There was the possibility that I really did have DID. In that case, it would explain why I was at Sphere as if it were natural. It could also explain the attitude Utsumi and the rest had taken toward me. This dream, this institute, Inobushi and Utsumi, they were all too real. Were dreams this vivid even possible? Lucid dream. My head hurts. I'm confused again. For the sake of argument, if this is a dream, where's the real me right now? Maybe the plane accident was a dream as well. No. No, I think that part was real. I certainly got into an airplane accident. Right now I should be sleeping in the shelter cabin on a snowy mountain. But that newspaper... Oh, my voice cut out, sorry. Just what was that? You could also say, this is reality and the shelter cabin is a dream. It's possible to think that too. Is my real body a boy's? Which would mean that I was a boy originally. Meaning that the personality of the woman called Fukawa Kokoro was born inside and only existed in the man named Yukido Satoru. No.
ごめんなさい。ちょっと一人にさせて。
No matter how much I think, I can't understand any of this. I didn't want to think about anything anymore. If this is a dream, I want to hurry and wake up. Staggering, I left the room. I left the wide central room. I exited into the kitchen. Thinking I could calm down on the sofa, I headed toward the inner living area. Hotaru was standing right behind me. Even though I said I wanted to be alone, it seemed she followed me. Hotaru saw me jump back and tilted her neck. I wonder if she's doing it on purpose. I wonder if she's trying to make fun of me. It's impossible to rest like this. Having no other options, I decided to explore this institution. Moving to and fro, I finished walking around without thinking about anything. That being said, I had already gone over the inside of this institute once before. Now then, what should I do? It seemed that the only remaining places to check out are two of the 4 doors in this room. As I face away from the main entrance, there are the two inner rooms. I investigated the room on the left-hand side. Hotaru didn't follow me. My gait slightly unsure, I walked in the direction of the living room area. The light in the room was already on. The structure of the room looked exactly the same as the two rooms I had seen earlier. I didn't feel anyone's presence. The inside was silent. Several articles of women's clothing had been left spread across the bed. They'd probably get wrinkled if they were left like that. It was a very private atmosphere somehow. In other words, the four rooms at the corner of the institution are for private use, which means that in this building there are at least 4 private rooms. In each room there is a single bed. The number of people that this institute can accommodate is 4, is what it means. The scale of the building is quite large, so it's surprising that the number of people it accommodates is so few. Also, this institution doesn't seem to hold the presence of many people either. I haven't met anyone in Sphia besides those 3. The other people involved with Sphia, the doctors and the nurses for example, where were they and what were they doing? Perhaps the extra people didn't appear because it was a dream, or is there an unusual situation happening? I shook my head. Hang out. Is it bad? Because I think my voice keeps cutting out. Sorry. My voice keeps cutting out. I just changed my mic settings. Bumped my mic up a little, so my voice shouldn't cut out. Occasionally chops. My bad. I left the room. Utsumi and Yuni were sitting in the kitchen drinking tea. Hotaru wasn't in the living area. She had disappeared through one of the 4 doors. The last remaining door. Or could it be that perhaps that room belongs to Hotaru herself? Since I didn't have anywhere else to go, I thought I'd take a little peek. Casually, I followed after Hotaru. Just as I expected, this room had the same layout as the other 3. The only thing different is that this room didn't have the feeling it was being lived in. Also, that the sheets on the bed were in disarray. There wasn't anything else. The top of the disc was bare, and there weren't any changes of clothes to be found. In the first place, there wasn't any human warmth. A cold, dreary atmosphere unfolded the room. What does Hotaru, Inabushi Keiko, think about living in this room of hers? Hotaru herself wasn't in the room, but just where did she go? Just then a sound came from the bathroom. Wondering what it was, I peeked inside. Hotaru was there. Water was gushing from the sink as she stared at the mirror. Her entire body was shivering. Holding her head, she yanked and tore at her own hair. The sounds of Hotaru's wild breathing resounded in the bathroom. Glancing at her face, I became speechless. The expression I saw was full of anguish. Her mouth was open as though in a voiceless scream. Her eyes opened wide, she glared at the Hotaru in the mirror. I put my hand on her shoulder and she shook it off violently. I lost my balance and bumped my head against the sink. The continuous dull pain at the back of my head became sharp as if it had been stabbed there. The water from the sink, which had been on the verge of overflowing before, was now spilling over. I was soaked, but now wasn't the time to be bothered with that. Hotaru's long black hair had become disheveled as she violently shook her head. Is she deranged? It won't be good if this continues. Hotaru began to moan louder and louder. Her voice? Was the Inabushi Keiko personality awakening? If so, it'll become dangerous. I looked about my surroundings in search for a means of escape. Before the murderous monster awakened, it might be better to run away. But... Hotaru's voice suddenly slowly transformed into a scream. A ghastly shriek issued from her mouth. It's useless, I can't get free. Making an immediate decision, I gripped her in a chokehold. Struggled violently. Even so, in spite of all the strength she was exerting, she seemed quite frail. No. It's me who's become stronger. It's probably because my body's a man's. And then, the strength abruptly left Hotaru's body. Looking across the mirror to see what was going on, it appeared that Hotaru lost consciousness. He choked her out. Good job.
どうしたの？
Probably because she had heard the commotion, Utsumi came running, practically flying into the bathroom. While holding up Hotaru in my arms, I explained the situation to Utsumi.
そうだった。
While muttering, Utsumi held out a
手
hand.
伝うわ。ベッドに運びましょう。
You couldn't pay me to do this job even if you offered me $1 zillion. Utsumi and I both carried Hotaru to her bed and laid her down.
冬川さんはもう戻っていいわよ。
I don't have the patience to deal with this constant circus.
彼女は私が見ておくからあなたも疲れてるでしょ。今日はもう眠った方がいいわ。
Saying that, Utsumi took something out of her pocket. She presented it to me. They were pills sealed inside a silver-colored package. There were 2 white
眠
pills.
る前にこれを飲むといいわ。ぐっすり寝られるから。
That would mean these were sleeping pills, wouldn't it? I took the pills from
じ
Utsumi.
ゃあ後のことよろしくお願いします。え、おやすみ。
I left the bed and went toward the door. Uni was standing beyond the door, which had been left open. Surely Uni must have gotten curious as well and came to check the state of things. I wonder how long he's been standing there.
どうしたの？なんでもないのよ。
I was tired and didn't have the energy to explain. Besides, I didn't want to give Uni anything to worry about unnecessarily.
行きましょう。
I placed my hand on Uni's shoulder and urged him out of the room. Uni obediently followed. Hotaru, who was stretched in the bed, appeared to turn over in her sleep as soon as the door shut. I returned to the place where Utsumi had told me was Sukun's room and let out a sigh. The floor plan of the bathroom was the same as Hotaru's. Why did she suddenly become deranged? And then there was her voice. Hotaru had let out a scream, even though she was supposed to have aphasia. Her vocal cords are still able to function is what that means. That she doesn't normally speak is probably due to mental factors, as I thought. Or it might be that Inobushi Keiko had awakened. If that's the case, isn't it dangerous? I felt insecure. I sighed deeply once again. Too many things were happening. In the shelter cabin and in this strange sphere. I don't have time to calm down. Somehow I'm awfully tired. It may be better if I just got some rest, like Utsumi told me to. Then take out the pills Utsumi handed to me. Fuck. Alright. So this is asking if we want to stay here, or if we want to go back to the cabin, I assume. But honestly, I don't know. I kinda wanna go back to the cabin. So I'm gonna take the pills. I decided to take them. Due to my nervousness, my mind was excited even though my body was tired. The way things are, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. I walked to the refrigerator that was included with the room. I opened its door. There was a bottle of mineral water inside. A small 500ml PET bottle. There were 3 bottles, all unopened. I took out one of them. I removed the cap from the bottle. Glass. There. Several glasses stood upside down in a row on top of the fridge. I picked one up and poured about 1/3 of the water in. I twisted the cap back on and returned to the bottle to its place. The way you guys are reacting, saying, interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if this was poison. I removed the pills from the package. They were white and circular. I suddenly thought of something. It'd be fine if I take 2 at once, right? I'd forgotten. When thinking of the phrase sleeping pills, I can't help the negative mental image I have of them. If I take the wrong amount, it'd be the last time I ever go to sleep, never to awaken again. I'm sure 2 aren't fine. I mean, I stared at the pills, made up my mind, and popped them into my mouth and washed them down with water. It didn't taste like anything. With the medicine package empty, I returned the glass to the top of the refrigerator with a small amount of water remaining in it, and left it there. It got a little colder. Of course, my body was soaked to the skin. Poison in a pill? Never. In order to try to calm myself down, I decided to take a bath. If I take a while to catch my breath, some break in my mental deadlock might appear. I persuaded myself of that. It might be carefree, but I wouldn't be able to hold myself together for much longer like this. Giving the bathtub a quick rinse, I began to fill it with hot water. I sit on the edge of the bathtub and doze off staring at the surface of the water. Engulfed in a comfortable steam, I'm attacked by drowsiness. No, it's not simply on this level of drowsiness, I'm seriously sleepy. It feels like I'll just fall asleep like this. It almost feels as if I were dizzy. The inside of my head had become dull. My body was incredibly heavy. It was most likely the medicine taking effect. Sure, shoot, I have to wake up. I suddenly heard sounds coming from the room. Maybe Uni had come to visit. I called into the other room. I poked just my head out of the bathroom and inspected the state of the room. Nobody was there. There wasn't any human presence. Was it just my imagination? I tilted my head and returned my eyes to the bathroom. The water looks warm and full of vitality. However, I'm still sleepy. All I'm doing is standing here, and even from that, my feet are becoming unsteady. This is bad. If this was going to happen, I should have bathed before I took the pills. It happened again. Again, I heard a sound. What is going on? It might just be Uni playing a prank on me. I left the bathroom staggering. There wasn't anyone in the room after all. Maybe he's hiding. But there was no reply, and I didn't feel anyone's presence. Just to be certain, I looked anywhere that could be used as a hiding place. I looked in the closet as well. Still, Uni was nowhere to be found. Leaving the room, I even poked my head into the living area. There wasn't anyone in the living area, nor the kitchen. It seemed like everyone had returned to their rooms. The whole place was silent as the grave. In that silence, I started to feel insecure. The entire institution didn't have a very much human presence at all. I panicked and returned back to the bathroom staggering. The hot water had already filled up about 80% of the tub. Turn it off! I gently put my hand in to test the water. A little hot, but that heat felt nice. At the same time, my drowsiness increased even more. Alright, are we gonna drown in a bathtub? Is that what's gonna happen? My hand continued to splash and stir the water in the bathtub. I became aware of a fatal error. There's no way I can get into a bath naked when my body's a man's. I remember that scene from before and immediately recalled how cold it had been. And then suddenly... Oh! Shit. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Light in the room went out. It happened so suddenly now I was in a state of confusion trying to figure out what was going on. It was completely dark and I couldn't see a thing. Just who? What in the fuck? Alice in Disorderly Chaos. Is that what it just said? No, Disorderly Clothes. Pure whiteness. Was it steam covering my field of vision? No, that doesn't look like steam. No, it was snow. The entire surface of the world in front of me was concealed in a layer of snow. I could feel someone's hands under my armpits. Facing up towards the sky, I could see that my body was being dragged through the snow. Up until just a few minutes ago, I had been covered by the warm steam of the hot bath in the bathroom, but all of a sudden I was hit with this gust of chilly air. The cold pierced right through me, my entire body shook from the chill. I couldn't seem to gather up any of my strength. Who's dragging me across the snow? Dragging me out into this place, this cold. The person's trying to kill me. I shook myself free from the hands underneath my arms. And just like that, I lost support and collapsed with my body sprawled across the snow. My lips were shaking, and I couldn't even speak properly. They had frozen. That was when Yomogi stood over me and looked down toward me. He had a blank look on his face.
Yomogi-san?
Why is Yomogi here? But he didn't pay any attention to my look of confusion and once again stretched his arms towards me. I think we're getting a bad ending. Scrambling to get away from him, I pushed myself up. My foot couldn't get a proper grip because of the snow. With every step, my feet sunk deeper and deeper into it.
Oi.
I yelled out loud as I glared back at Yomogi. His hands reached out toward me. I slapped his hands away immediately. That's when I noticed this strange, uncomfortable feeling. For some reason, something didn't feel right around my chest. The usual feeling of support wasn't there. I touched my chest lightly. My bra, it's not on properly. It's unhooked. What the fuck? I covered my chest with my hands in a panic. An annoyed look appeared on Yomogi's face. He was acting kind of weird. I want to know what's going on too. He pointed his chin in the direction behind him. Through the blowing snow, I recognized the faint image of the cabin. It's the shelter cabin. I'm no more than 10 meters away from it. But I should be at Sphere. A quiet mutter disappeared in the sound of the fierce wind. Pushing my way past Yomogi, I quickly made my way toward the cabin. When I ran inside the cabin, Yuni and Maizumi were both there. So I was really back. Now instead of saying that I was back, I should say that I had woken up from my dream. 1 second, I gotta get a charger because I didn't realize my headset was this low on battery. I can see. It doesn't look like we've gotten a bad ending yet. Although, not ruling it out. This probably is gonna happen. I just gotta figure out where to put my... She's an idiot, that's why. Alright, got my headset plugged in, and now it probably won't die. And we're good to go. Now, instead of saying that I was back, I should say that I had woken up from my dream. Maizumi was, as always, wrapped up in a blanket from in front of the stove. She clicked her tongue lightly in disdain as she looked at me with suspicion. Yumi too only looked at me from afar. I shook my head in silence, trying hard to catch my breath once again. The warm air inside the cabin soothed me just a tiny bit. But there's no way I'd forget the one thing I needed to do. I pulled my hands from my skirt and reached into my shirt to fix my bra in a hurry. I made my way to the stove and held my hands up near it. My hands had turned bright red. There was no feeling in my fingertips. I was covered in snow from head to toe. Even my hair was dripping wet. I brushed the snow off me as I struggled hard to endure this torment. This isn't the time to worry about what she had just said, since my body felt like it was completely frozen. When she realized I was ignoring her, she got up and moved up to another spot. Uni held me in a small towel. I accepted it without a word and dried my wet hair. Yomogi had also made it back into the cabin, closing the door behind him. So Satoru, in a panic, ran out the door and tried to kill himself. Is that what happened? He looked straight at me, his face telling me that he wanted to hear an explanation. But in the end, he didn't say anything. He just stood quietly near the door and brushed off the snow off himself. If I could explain what just happened, I would. But because I had absolutely no idea, there wasn't much I could do. Anyway, my body was now returning to normal. My heart and my body had also both returned to being those of Furukawa Kokoro. But that's all I can be certain of for now. No one said a single word. It seemed like something really strange had happened. There's no mistake about that. But I don't know why everyone was so quiet. I stood beside the stove, puzzled. Can you stop being so dense? Jeez. Even the ever-17 protagonists weren't this dense. An uncomfortable silence filled the cabin. No one said a thing. Normally, Uni would be joking around energetically, but he just glanced at me with almost a sad look on his face. I didn't direct the question at anyone in particular. Mayuzumi didn't respond. Uni looked down at the floor. Yomogi turned towards me and looked at me as if he was looking at a ghost. Butsuni groaned in a serious manner. He stood there nodding alone by himself as he had just figured something out. Yomogi scratched his head as things over. Soon he sat down on the wooden stool and pulled it toward me. Without hesitation in his voice, with hesitation in his voice. I've heard that name before. That name appeared in my dream. My head felt dizzy. Unable to stand up any longer, I sat across from Yomogi. Could he be talking about me suffering from DID again? Yep. A really strange thing to say. And yet, that was really the only way I could describe it. Alright, thank you. We're getting somewhere now. I knew it. I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Was I dreaming again? Was this shelter cabin a dream too? If that was the case, was the time I spent at Svea the reality? But I'm a woman. I'm absolutely 100% a woman. Perhaps realizing from the look on my face that I was getting angrier and angrier, Yomogi quickly. The person Yomogi was looking at was Uni. Why would a young boy like him even have such expert knowledge about DID? Does he know something? I looked at him, questioning him with my eyes, but he didn't give me an explanation. There was nothing I could do, so I left him alone. Later about whether I'm really suffering from DID or not. My heart skipped a beat. The way Uni spoke it was as if he knew everything, just as I thought he. Oh, shut the fuck up, you bitch. Suddenly Mayuzumi yelled out in frustration. Flinging off her blanket, she jumped up to her feet. She glared at me with her eyes wide open. Why would I be lying? Looks like she's trying to say I'm making this all up. She looked as if she was going to hit me at any moment. Her eyes looked so angry they made me take a couple of steps back from her. Yomogi lit his cigarette. Taking a puff, he pointed towards Mayuzumi with the hand holding the cigarette. That caught Mayuzumi off guard. Biting her lip, she fell silent. Yeah, shut the fuck up, bitch. Fuck off. Thanks, Yomogi.
私はあんたの安眠のためにいるんじゃないわ。
Yomugi chuckled as he took another
僕
puff.
は君たちのことがさっぱり理解できない。僕の知らないところではいろいろ起きてるみたいだが。
I felt the same way too. I needed someone to explain what was going on.
舞泉、さっきの君は有機堂悟のことを知ってるような口ぶりだったな。湯川さん、いや、有機堂君も舞泉のことを知っているようだった。さっきは否定してたが、本当に二人とも知り合いじゃないのか。
Again with that just now. What exactly did he mean when he said just now? Yomugi looked straight at me, who was getting even more confused. I quietly shook my head. The first time I'd ever met Mayuzumi was in this cabin.
舞泉は
少なくともその女とは知り合いじゃないわ。
少なくともということは、有機堂君とは知り合いなのか。
関係ないでしょ。バカだし。付き合ってられないわ。
Mayuzumi did know the person named Yukado Satoru. Her reaction said it loud and clear. I didn't know what kind of relationship the two of them had. But one thing was certain, it was something Mayuzumi was angry about. As things stand now, it had already gotten quite awkward between us. We were supposed to be coming together and doing our best to make it through this, but now the atmosphere in the cabin had gotten worse. So I'll... Fuck off, bitch. I'm not apologizing to you. Tell me.
眉住さん、
何よ。
I followed behind
知っ
her.
てるんですね。
何をよ。
有機堂悟という人物のことです。教えてください。彼は何者なんですか？どこにいる人なんですか？実在するんですよね。
The look on her face grew darker and darker. But in spite of that, I had to get it out of her.
なんで私はその男のことを知ってるんですか？なんで？
Suddenly, a laugh flew across my face. A hot burning sensation floated up to my
憲法
cheeks.
38条1項。何人も事故に不利益な供述を強要されない。
Just tell me,
黙
bitch.
秘権くらい知ってるでしょ。あんたに言う必要なんてないよ。
おい、舞泉。
うるさい。そんなことよりもあんた早くご飯の準備しなさいよ。たくどんくさいわね。
She pointed at Yomogi as she vented her anger at him with those
こっ
words.
ちはもうお腹ペコペコなのよ。
ああ、そうだったな。飯がまだだった。舞泉も腹が減ってるから、よし、とっとと飯にしよう。お湯も沸いてるみたいだしな。
He said that as he glanced at the aluminum pot sitting on top of the stove. White steam rose up from the aluminum pot.
今日は何食べるの？
Chopped uni is what we're having. Uni asked as he peeked into the cardboard box where all the emergency rations were kept.
そうだな。
Yomogi thought about it for a while
みん
and
な
then
は何を食べたい？
he inquired of us. I think the only thing possible here is rice porridge, so... Fuck it. Chukadon.
中華丼。
What? The fuck? All three of us said in perfect unison.
満場一致か。実は僕も中華丼が食べたいと思ってたんだ。
Okay,
なんだかよくわからないけど、無性に中華丼が食べたい気分なんだよな。
cool. Team morale has been boosted, as he nodded his head and muttered, Yomogi cardboard
じゃ
boxes.
あ、みんなはお椀を準備してくれ。
He took the bowls and spoons. It really was kind of incredible. The fact that the four of us all agreed on what to eat. It's as if the moment I had decided I want to eat some chukadon, that thought was broadcast to everyone else. No, maybe we can think of it another way. From the very beginning, everyone's decisions have already been determined. No, that's not exactly it either. I'm not the type to believe it in fate. I don't believe in that kind of dream. I'm just not that kind of romantic. Maybe you can try thinking of it like this. Everyone's decisions were all made by some kind of unseen existence. Yeah, right. I'm such an idiot. There's no way something like that would happen. But that does sound just a little bit more romantic, doesn't it? As I tried to shake off these strange ideas, I put the ingredients for the chukadon Yomogi had handed me to my bowl. Roundhouse, kick that bitch. Yes, I like that option. This candle always unsettles me. What the fuck? Why do they just settle on a candle? Please tell me why. And there's fucking tension! Black screen for like 20 minutes. By the way, yes? I suddenly asked as I brought the warm chukadon to my
あの
lips.
新聞ってどうなったんですか？
And with that single question, the atmosphere that had thawed froze once again. I may have said something I shouldn't have, but in the first place, so why did I ask a question like that? It feels so strange, so unbelievable. Once again, I'd become conscious of the existence I couldn't see. Fucking Kokoro always ruining the mood. When I looked up at Maizumi, the hand she was eating with had stopped cold and the spoon she was holding clattered against her bowl. It was shaking.
新聞ならあそこの棚に置いてあるよ。
Sad reality of real people's stupidity. If they die, it's because Kokoro has just been an idiot this entire time. I looked over and sure enough, there it was. But it seemed really different from the last time I had seen it. It seemed like it was patched up messily. In other words, it had been taped together after being ripped to pieces before.
君は覚えてないのか。君が破いた新聞を君が有機道君になった時にみんなで元通りに直したんだよ。
He tore it up. Why?
破いた？私が？
それも覚えてないのか。
ええ。
It was true the moment I read the newspaper article, I really was destroyed by the shock. I do remember using my strength to do something, but did I really rip it? Maybe I did after all. I wasn't too sure whether I'd ripped it or not. That part of my memory seemed so vague, especially because at that exact moment my head had gone completely blank.
まあいいだろう。君のそういうところにはもう慣れた。新聞のことは気にしない方がいい。
Why?
あんなものはただのいたずらだろう。
Prank? Okay, that is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. How could that be a prank? You're an idiot. Why is everybody an idiot? Yomogi said, his voice almost a groan.
そうとしか考えられない。
でよ、なんでそんな風に簡単に言い切れるの？
Maizumi had slammed her bowl onto the table, as if something she had been holding until now had exploded within her.
いたずらなわけないじゃない。いたずらだったとしたら、あの新聞を作ったやつは HAL18 便が墜落したことをあらかじめ知ってたってことになるのよ。
Haha, pranked. XDDD.
私たち4人が助かることも、この避難小屋へたどり着くことも全部知ってたことになるのよ。預言者？予知能力者？それともラプラスの悪魔かしら。
Laplace. Fuck. I did not mean to do that, my bad. Alright. It's a Laplace, actually. Laplace's demon. A concept proposed by Pierre Simon Laplace, a French mathematician and philosopher. I'm assuming if you've already read this, you've seen this tip before, but if not, Laplace's demon is actually really interesting. Suppose there exists a demon, that is, an entity that possesses the ability to know at a certain moment the state of all things in the universe. Then, for no matter how brief this moment is, it would always be enough for the demon to unravel everything that had happened in the past and will happen in the future.
Mayuzumi.
そもそもいたずらする理由は？私たちを脅かす理由は？
I don't know.
Mayuzumi, 落ち着け。
どっかでカメラでも回ってるっていうの？元祖びっくりカメラとか書かれたプラカード持ったおっさんがそのうち出てくるっていうの？
I could drop a reference to another game right now, but I won't.
バカバカしい。
Maizumi snapped as soon as she stared at Yomogi.
落ち着け、Mayuzumi。君の言ってることは支離滅裂だ。この新聞は本物なのか、偽物なのか。
それは。
Maizumi went quiet all of a sudden. I guess that's a natural reaction. If the newspaper article is real, that means the three of us already have died. 6 days later, on January 17th. To believe this newspaper article is real is the same as accepting our deaths. It's not that she believes it's fake, it's just that she doesn't want to believe it's real either. I can understand the conflict within Maizumi very clearly.
なあ、舞澄、仮にだ。あの新聞がいたずらじゃないとしよう。いたずらじゃないとしたら、それで説明がつくのか。わけのわからないことには変わりないだろう。未来の新聞がどうしてこんなところにあるんだ。堂々巡りだ。考えたってしょうがない。結論が出るわけではない。だったら忘れようじゃないか。以外、こう考えるんだ。これはどう解釈したって同じことなんだ。どのみち説明のつかないことなんだ。だったら都合のいいように捉えるんだ。あの新聞はただのいたずらで、
It's not, but okay.
僕たちは必ず生きて帰れると。
We won't, but okay.
それでいいじゃないか。
Yes.
な
No.
わかった。忘れるわ。
Thank God. Now you can shut the fuck up, bitch.
よし。みんなもそれでいいよな。
It's good with me.
うん。
Both of us nodded. I too felt the same as Yomogi. If it's something bad, then we might as well forget about it. In some ways, that's one of the strongest defense mechanisms that I've learned in life so far. And you probably think so too. Anyway, I'm glad. I was worried about how bad the situation was going to get, but for now, at least everyone's panic has subsided. The panic that had been stirred up by that creepy piece of newspaper has now disappeared. As if forgotten. And that's good enough.
ご飯も食べ終わったことだし、寝るわ。
Maizumi muttered as she picked up her blanket and made her way to the top bunk. The bowl she had slammed on the table just a while ago was completely empty. After a while, the rest of us finished our humble meals as well.
さてと。
After taking out his portable ashtray and putting out his cigarette, Yomogi stood up.
今日はもう遅い。火を絶やさないようにして交代で眠ろう。まずは僕が見張りをするから。
でも
いいから君も寝なさい。
Slowly, I stood up. I caught a glimpse at the watch on my right wrist. It was already approaching midnight. Uni took down my hand. He looked up at me with eyes like an abandoned kitten's.
一緒に寝てくれる？
I couldn't help but smile gently at him.
そうね。
His face lit up immediately. The two of us both squeezed into the bottom bunk. Covering ourselves with blankets, we curled up into a ball. Soon I could hear Uni's quiet, peaceful breathing as he fell asleep. His sleeping face was as peaceful and adorable as an angel's. His body was warm. I really wanted to believe that his warmth was not just a dream.
ねえ、よもぎさん。
I called up to him as he sat with his back to me.
どうした？
もう一度だけ確認させて。私は本当に有機動悟るって名乗ったの？
After a short pause,
ああ、
そう。おやすみなさい。
おやすみ。
I closed my eyes. But with that said, I couldn't fall asleep at all. Whenever I tried to be still, endless thoughts ran through my mind, going deeper and deeper. Like an endless bog. Even if I kept thinking about it over and over again, I was still so far from coming up with an answer. What had happened to me? Yomogi said that I had multiple personalities. The same thing Utsumi had told me in that dream when I was in Sphia. Was that really the truth? Was the time that I had spent in Sphia even a dream? Is the Kokoro lying here in the bed in the shelter cabin even real? Which one is the dream, and which one is reality? Or perhaps both of them are the dream, and perhaps both are reality. I lost consciousness in the shelter cabin. Who was it that was controlling my body? Yomogi, Maizumi, and even Yumi confirmed it, so it's probably not a mistake. It appears the person that was controlling my body introduced himself as Yukido Satoru. Meanwhile, while I was in Sphia, my body also belonged to Yukido Satoru as well. Multiple personality disorder possibly can't possibly explain that. And both felt much too real to be explained as dreams. So then what are they? I can only think of one answer to that. Both are reality. Multiple personality disorder alone cannot explain what was happening to me right now. Because I was still me while I was inside Satoru's body. Memories while I was there. Thank God. So it was probably natural to suddenly come up with the explanation. My consciousness has been mutually switching between the world here and the world there. Regardless of whether that sounds logical, I couldn't think of any other explanation. A bitter laugh echoed inside my heart. It's just like a science fiction novel, but this is reality. Perhaps I and this person named Satoru were exchanging consciousness with each other for some reason. When I'm in my body, he's in his body. Thank the fuck. It took 10,000 years to come up with this. Finally, you get it. Thank you, finally. Took way too long. When I'm in his body, he's in mine. That must be it. Now that I think about it, the last thing I remember about Sofia was being in the bathroom. At that time, the bathroom lights had suddenly gone out. And distinctly, I remember feeling a sense of danger then. What exactly happened after that? If we are indeed exchanging consciousnesses with each other, I wonder if that Satoru person is alright after that. Probably not. I want to believe that he's okay. You killed him, you idiot. It would seem that I've already accepted that our consciousnesses are switching. No, perhaps I could even say I'm forcing myself to accept it. Because if I didn't, it would have driven me insane already. And I tried to come up with an explanation to calm myself down first. How long is this phenomenon going to go on for? If only this were the last time, then that would be fine, but it wasn't guaranteed that there would be another switch while I was sleeping, leading to me to wake up at Sofia once again. And I had no idea whether the transfer would once again happen after that. Since we had no clue why this phenomenon was happening in the first place, after the next transfer it was possible that they might stop happening altogether. If that's the case, then I would end up who knows where in some stranger's body for the rest of my life. If the other person was a girl, it wouldn't be so bad, but it had to be a boy. As if I'm androgynous. Or maybe it should be called gender identity disorder. If I was actually sick, I could accept that. Switching my mic. Oh, this is much better. Huh. Oh crap. This is 10,000 times better. Cool. But this isn't some sickness. Something's going on here. Something that I can't even imagine. Oh shit. How much time had passed as I thought about those things over and over again? I can hear the faint sound of the blizzard blowing outside, not seeming it was going to subside anytime soon. As I rolled over in my bed, I sneaked a peek at Yomogi. He had told us we were going to take turns watching the fire. But he didn't seem to want to switch, and he simply sat in front of the red flame, staring constantly. He had a somewhat serious look on his face. Was he not sleepy? Or was he just looking out for us now? I couldn't seem to sleep either. Switching mic levels quick. I might as well switch shifts with him. And I was just about to tell him. I heard a shuffling from the sound from the top bunk. Is my Izumi up too? Looks like my mic is still spiking. There, that's probably better. There we go. Sighing, Yomogi stood up to boil some water. When Yomogi went to prepare the tea, Izumi came down from her bed. I quickly closed my eyes as she took a glance over at me and Uni. Jeez, why am I pretending to be asleep anyway? No, I'm not asleep. You're bad judge.
のんきでいいわね。
You were just sleeping soundly yourself until a few moments ago. I wanted to say that, but I stopped myself.
寝かしておいてやれ。
あんたは寝ないの？
これは誰にも言うなよ。実はな、予売するチャンスを狙ってるんだ。
What? What? Oh, he's really kind of that man. My body shook with fear in my bed.
最低。
Her voice was cold.
刑法第174条。公然とわいせつな行為をした者は6月以下の懲役、もしくは30万円以下の罰金、または
Is she a police officer or a detective or something? Because, like, she knows, like, all these laws. A lawyer, perhaps? She's definitely a lawyer. 100% lawyer. I got it. Lawyer. Oh, it's just...
それは残念だ。だが安心しろ。間違っても君を襲ったりはしない。
さっさとお茶作れ。
Okay, okay.
ほんの冗談じゃないか。
二度と喋んだ。
Complaining under his breath, Yomogi went downstairs. Sighing a little, Maizumi sat down in front of the stove. Pretending to be asleep, I shook my head slightly. Maizumi was the kind of person I couldn't get along with, so I kept trying my best to avoid her. She herself probably hated me too. I don't know if it was bad for things to have developed like this. Just like Yomogi had said, we were in a situation where everyone must help each other. If I told her about how I felt about her, then things between us might get to an unsalvageable point. But I just can't get along with her. I could just barely hear her low, quiet voice. Oh. Is she talking to herself? Her voice is no longer as sharp as it was before. For some reason it sounded almost lonely. Intrigued, I opened my eyes to take a peek. Curled up in a ball in front of the stove, Mayuzumi stared fixedly at something she was holding in her hands. A photo? My eyes looked ever closer. Oh no. In the photo was Mayuzumi. A younger Mayuzumi. Like a carefree young girl, she looked at the camera with a truly blissful smile on her face. An expression so calm and peaceful as it was if the only person she trusted completely was looking at her. Then Mayuzumi in the photo shone so brightly. I wondered what thoughts were running through her head as she gazed at the photo. Oh crap. My heart skipped a beat when I heard those quiet words. Just now I was certain that I heard Mayuzumi whisper, no Yukido Sakura. I wanted to push her harder to get to the truth, but for some reason I couldn't do it. Perhaps I just felt too guilty digging into her past like this. Plus, even if I ask, I probably still won't get an answer from her. I gently closed my eyes. Mayuzumi was also frightening. She acts like she's tough, but in reality, she too is troubled and anxious. She's frightening or she's frightened? Oh, she was fighting. I'm not the only one suffering. I held Uni's body tightly in my arms, so that I wouldn't forget this warmth if something were to happen to us. So that I could remember that I was not alone. If nothing else, just being here right now is enough for me. January 12th, the second day. Discrepancies between genders. And the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the deep, deep cave. On the other side of the other side of the other side of the grim, grim darkness. Beyond, 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 beyond the deep. It felt as if I was falling anywhere and everywhere. That sense of loss. No, that's not right. Nothing had been lost. There was nothing to begin with. Not a thing. There wasn't a single thing here. Emptiness. Pure emptiness. There was nothing else other than this pure emptiness. But if indeed there was nothing else here whatsoever, then what about me, the person experiencing this emptiness? Who is this existence known as I? This emptiness is like 0. Does 0 really exist? If it really exists, then what is this 0? If it doesn't exist, then when does 1 actually become 1? And like that, from the interval between a 0 and a 1. I was forcibly ripped out. Switch. When I came to my senses, my head was lying on the desk. I was holding a pen in my right hand, as if I had fallen asleep without realizing. A deep, deep, dreamless sleep. No, maybe I did have a dream. My head was all muddled and confused. It was as if some puzzling, incomprehensible image was spinning over and over in my mind like a vortex. It was not the same as that feeling you get when you just wake up. It was a different feeling of confusion. In fact, if I had just woken up, it would be surprising if my mind were clear. All I would feel is some slight tiredness. I wouldn't understand it too well even if I thought about it. Anyway, I fell asleep and then woke up when I knocked my head on the desk. Isn't that a little strange? I was sleeping in the bed. Bed in the cabin. I don't remember moving toward the desk at all. Now that I think about it, there is no desk in the cabin. Then what is this place? As I started to panic, I calmed myself down and scanned my surroundings, pondering. There was a bed, a desk, and a closet in the room. They were all very tidy and organized, giving off a clean, cozy feeling. But at the same time, they also felt somewhat hollow and fake because of it. As if the things like human warmth had been ripped out of them by the roots. I finally understood. I looked at the back of my hand. These hands were rugged and large, not the hands which belonged to the Fukuoka Kokoro I was familiar with. We can only hope that Satoru has figured it out too. I muttered as I let out a sigh. Suddenly I realized I had to pee. I stood up and opened the door to the unit bath near the exit of the room. Each room was equipped with not only a shower but a toilet as well. I rubbed my sleepy eyes as I reached for my belt and froze. This is a man's body. So in order to relieve myself, that would mean I looked down timidly. Why is this... There was a strange feeling between my legs. In other words, I have to use my hands and hold on to that. I have no choice. I have no other choice. Because right now my body is a man's body. I'm just doing this in order to take care of a normal biological process, that's all. I'm not touching it for any weird reason or anything. I understood all that in my mind. But still... I burst out of the washroom and fell prostrate in the middle of the bedroom. Smirk. Just do it, you idiot. Maybe it was because I was too shaken up, I couldn't even take proper deep breaths. If I had paid more attention to myself, I would have noticed that it was almost as if I were giving birth. An uncomfortable feeling was radiating from my abdomen. The intense urge to pee was building and building there. Oh no, oh no. Go! I'm 20 years old, a grown-up, an adult. As an adult. No, as a woman. No, as a human being. I must not wet the pants. Oh no, no big deal. I crept back into the bathroom. What am I doing talking to myself? That question suddenly crossed my mind, but I pushed it back to the back of my head. I lowered my pants just like I've always done. And just like a normal trip to the bathroom, I took a seat on the... And once again I burst out of the washroom. Fell to my knees, hanging my head in the middle of the bedroom.
トイレに行くとき、狙いを定めるなんて作業はしないのよ。
Men have to perform one extra step when they go to the bathroom. Fukawa Kokoro, the winner of her 20th year, learned this valuable lesson. Well, but I didn't need to know. I didn't want to know.
どうすればいいのよ。
Just go, you idiot. I'm not even saving. Writhing, I made my way toward the bathroom once again. If someone were to see me like this, I probably would never be able to get married, but I try not to think about it. Even if I thought about it, I'd probably burst into tears. I made up my mind and lowered myself onto the toilet. I collapsed onto the bed, completely exhausted. It's the first time in my life I've ever gotten this worn out just going to the restroom. If this personality exchange keeps going from now on, then I might have no choice but to get used to this. But this is too much for a young lady like me. There's no way I can get used to it that easily. I just realized something truly horrifying. The owner of the body I'm currently in. In other words, the personality of Yukido Satoru is probably inside my body at the shelter cabin right now. So that means he has the freedom to do whatever he wants with my body. Oh my gosh, shut up. I shuddered all over at the thought of some man I've never met fooling around with my body. I groaned instinctively. Feeling somewhat irritated, I paced back and forth in the room like a caged animal, but I still couldn't seem to calm myself down. That's when I noticed the note that had been left on the table. I grabbed it and held it tightly in my hand. Satoru left a message. Yes! You're learning. Good job. I'm not really sure if I should say nice to meet you or thanks for visiting again. I doubt I've known anyone that had this much trouble coming up with a greeting for. I'm Yukido Satoru. I think you've already noticed it as well, but it looks like we're currently experiencing some kind of personality change. I don't know the exact reason for this. What I do know is that you're a woman named Fukawa Kokoro. It was a note from the owner of this body, Yukido Satoru. I plopped down on the bed and kept on reading anxiously. The first thing I want to clear up is about your body. How do I say this? I'll be careful not to touch or look at anything unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't know what your impression is of me from when you saw my face, but I am a gentleman. So please don't worry about that. Those words, as if he saw right through my worries. But he's a liar. I patted my chest in relief. I didn't know if he really didn't look or touch my body, but he's at least anticipated what I was worried about, so he can see someone who's concerned about me. That made me feel more at ease. I continued reading the note. Forgive me for jumping right into business, but I have a few things I must discuss. Just to make sure what's happening is really a personality exchange. Just heard something weird. From what I can tell, it seems that during the time my consciousness leaves this body, your consciousness takes my place within it. Likewise, whenever your consciousness leaves your body, my consciousness takes possession of it. As if we're two drivers alternating between two different cars. But I don't have any conclusive evidence that this is what's happening. Right now, all I have to go on are the words of the people around me. I heard that at Svea, my body addressed itself as Fukawa Kokoro while I wasn't around. And then at the shelter cabin, Yomogi-san told me that the owner of the body was someone named Fukawa Kokoro. So if we were to believe what they said, then we have no choice but to accept that your consciousness and mine are coming and going between each other's bodies. But even though I know Fukawa Kokoro's face and voice, I haven't actually had a chance to communicate with your actual personality. If we use cars as the analogy, then I'm familiar with Fukawa Kokoro to the car, or I'm familiar with Fukawa Kokoro the car, but I have yet to meet you, the driver within. I won't beat around the bush. The point is, I have my doubts that this personality called Fukawa Kokoro really exists, so I was hoping that you would leave some kind of evidence behind that proves you actually do exist. Since we can't talk to each other directly, can you at least write down some kind of reply on the paper that this note's written on? Anything will do. just some evidence behind that the Fuyukawa Kogoro personality controlling my body exists. Also, if you'd like, I'd like you to record the time. The time I'm interested in is the time that you took over my body. From this, we can determine whether the transfer of consciousness happens at a fixed schedule or if it occurs randomly. If we could figure out some kind of pattern to it, then wouldn't it be more convenient for both of us? We'd be able to realize when there is one more minute until the transfer and finish up whatever we needed to do by then. But if it happens at random, well, we'll figure something out, if and when that turns out to be the case. And it's probably random, because it seems to happen whenever we either sleep or see something like traumatic. Even realizing that the transfers are happening at random is a step forward, right? Right. That reminds me, I forgot to write down something very important. The truth is, no, my body, maybe would be more accurate. The truth is, my body is... Typical. Truly typical. Not surprised. I turned the paper around. The back was completely blank. That was the end of his note. I slammed my hand down on the table. I went silent with those words as I stared at the note. So that's why. The note was probably unfinished because the personality exchange occurred while he was still writing it. And so, I read over the note once again. He started the letter off with his concerns about me, and he kindly tried to ease my worries before continuing on to more important matters. Thanks to that, the creepy feeling I had about a few months ago disappeared. To initiate contact with this character named Satoru, who I knew exactly nothing about, and to be able to know some things about him was a big step towards reassuring me. Personality exchange isn't usually a situation that people have to consider, but it has indeed happened. If my partner in this had been a wimp who only freaked out and went, "What do I do? What do I do?" like you fucking idiot, then we really would have had no chance of making it out. But I looked at the note inscribed with those logical words. With my fingers, I traced the neat, organized handwriting. I can indeed feel a sense of partnership from it. Satoru is going through the same unexplainable circumstances as I am. I have a friend who is willing to do his best no matter what he's up against. Yes! I gathered my willpower and jumped to my feet with energy. Just as I thought, having a friend with me is more encouraging and reassuring than anything else. I could feel a bit, just a tiny bit, of courage building inside of me. I forgot. Satoru's note asked me to write down the time. I glanced at the alarm clock sitting at the bedside table. The hands coated with fluorescent paint pointed to 1:17. Did I oversleep? I was overwhelmed by a lot of things that happened yesterday, but nevertheless I slept for way too long last night. That was really just too shameless of me. No way. I shook my head in a hurry as Lean's annoying smile appeared in my mind. Now, about how long has it been since I woke up? So the time it took me to go to the washroom and read the note was about. There was a pen lying on the table. I turned the note over and wrote on the other side of it. The transfer happened at 1:07 p.m. I have to write a response to this note, but I put the pen down for now. Maybe it's because I felt relief, but I suddenly felt absolutely famished. Right, you idiot. Guru. My stomach rumbled loudly. Imagine being Satoru. You're responsible and concerned about your partner, but you're swapping with a moron. Yep, my thoughts exactly, bot. I muttered as I headed toward the kitchen to find something to eat. I mean, I can't just leave my partner starving like this, right? Breakfast is good for you. I bumped into Utsumi as soon as I left the room. I gave her a slight bow. When I gave her a slight smile after pausing for a moment, Utsumi's eyes narrowed. As if she was looking at a child who had just gotten a skin knee, her expression held a mix of sadness and affection.
ちゃいました。
She looked like she had something she wanted to say, but she just
お
smiled.
腹空いてるでしょ。
はい、ペコペコなんです。
一緒に食べましょう、冬川さん。
ありがとうございます。
She figured it out. She nodded and headed toward the dining area. I too followed behind. Utsumi addressed me as Fukawa Kokoro. She probably thinks that this other personality named Fukawa Kokoro has surfaced. To acknowledge the existence of another personality and accept it like everything was normal, that's not something that can easily be done. She does seem to be very well versed in psychology, but for some reason that doesn't feel like it's my only reason. An aura of true benevolence, or perhaps an air of all-accepting kindness, that's the kind of impression you get from her. Except she slapped us when we woke up.
やっほー、サトル。
Uni, who was already at the table, gave me a friendly smile. The frightened look he had just yesterday had disappeared. Beside Uni was Inabushi, now Hotaru, who also gave me a quick bow when she saw me. Every time I see her, my heart starts a bit. It still feels like Inabushi Keiko is right here in front of me. But it seems her personality is settled on that of Suzukage Hotaru for now. Inabushi Keiko is nowhere to be seen. It would be cruel to treat Hotaru like a ruthless murderer. I greeted them with a smile to conceal my
おは
thoughts.
よう、二人とも。ね
I too sat down at the dining table.
えねえ、さっき何やってたの？さっき？
What's he talking about?
さっきテラスから外に出てったじゃん。で、何やってたのかな？
That must be something Satoru had done. When I was still asleep at the shelter cabin, Satoru had already woken up here at Sphia and had done something. Of course, there's no way I'd know about it.
内緒。え教えてよ。ダメ。ケチ。
ユニくん、そんな言い方しないの。人には人のプライベートってものがあるのよ。
チェー。
Even though he's complaining, Uni doesn't seem to care all that much.
カリカリ。お腹減ったよ。
はいはい、ちょっと待ってね。
Uni's attention had long since shifted to his stomach.
お待たせ。
Utsumi brought the meal out on a tray. On the menu was toast, bacon, and eggs, and tuna salad. The savory aroma of the toast rose to our noses and made our stomachs groan in hunger.
いっぱい食べてね。
Aww. What a cute scene. The four of us had started our late breakfast. According to the clock, it should be considered lunch already, but let's not worry about such details.
おいしいよ、カリ。
Hotaru nodded enthusiastically at Uni's compliment. It was a flawless Western breakfast. Utsumi really has some skills. The food was absolutely delicious. A perfectly brown toast, soft-boiled eggs that melted in your mouth, and a big serving of tuna salad. With a breakfast like this, one can't help but feel happy.
ありがとう。でもちゃんと噛んで食べなくちゃダメよ。
Utsumi said to Uni as he stuffed his face with food. When Hotaru heard that, she nodded as if she had made up her mind about something. Chew, chew, chew. She chewed her food with a really serious look on her face. She just looked so cute I couldn't help but smile. Hotaru looked confused by my reaction. The Hotaru personality seems to be the type that doesn't betray emotions easily, but inwardly she seems like a good
お
person.
かわりもあるから、もっと欲しかったら言ってね。
はーい。はーい。
Saying that, Utsumi pointed at the bowl with my tuna salads in it.
あら、キュウリ残してるじゃない。
それは、すいません。キュウリ苦手なんです。どうして？美味しいのに。
Uni reached into my bowl and nonchalantly stuffed the cucumbers into his mouth.
青臭い感じがするでしょ？だからダメなの。
I used to not like cucumbers either. I do now, though.
残しちゃって。
だったら言っておいてくれればよかったのに。苦手なのはかぼちゃとキュウリね。
え？かぼちゃは嫌いじゃないですよ。
でもあなた。
Utsumi had an amazed look on her face, but then suddenly nodded as if she understood.
冬川さんの嫌いなものがキュウリで、有機堂くんはかぼちゃ。そういうことなのね。DID の症例では思考にも変化があるっていうから。
Uni had a complicated look on his face when he heard that.
心の人格が入ってるの？そうだよ。
He looked like he wanted to say something, but he bit into his toast as if trying to stop himself. Even though he didn't reject me entirely, he's probably still not willing to accept there's a personality called Kokoro inside Satoru's body.
他に何か嫌いなものがある？ 言っておいてくれれば出さないようにするけど。
あとは酢豚の中に入っているパイナップルは許せません。
When she heard my answer, Hotaru nodded with a look of agreement on her face. Utsumi smiled and
和
said,
食って果物を温かくして食べる料理少ないからびっくりしちゃうのよね。
そうなんです。それ以外は大丈夫です。
了解よ。
and just like that, we finished our breakfast. I thought about things as I had my coffee after breakfast. What's happening at the shelter cabin right now? I was able to fill myself with such a delicious breakfast, and drank a cup of coffee after the meal in the comfortable heated room. The people I'm with here are all kind people too, even though it would be a different story if the Unubushi Keiko character after emerged. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say this is a really peaceful place. On the other hand, they're trapped by an intense blizzard on that frigid mountain.
彼ら
Making that sound like someone else's problem caused a cold chill to run through my body. It's not someone else's problem, this is the reality, and even now that disaster happened in the mountains is still affecting the body of Fukawa Kokoro. Perhaps at this very moment Fukawa Kokoro's body is crumbling away. I should think of it as that of an urgent situation. What am I doing? I could just kick myself. This isn't the time to be relaxing and drinking coffee.
電話ってどこにあるの？
If I get a phone, I can contact a rescue team and let them know about the survivors. There was a sign outside the shelter cabin that said Mount Akakura Emergency Shelter Cabin. It's probably a public facility, so then the mountain rescue team should know exactly where it is. But Utsumi and Hotaru just looked at each other.
電話はないわよ。
携帯も？
携帯どころか通信手段は一つもないわ。
そんなバカな。
I said it unintentionally. This is Fia. It's not only a public medical center, but also a self-supported facility. Not having any way to contact the outside world is...
あれはあそこに置いてあるパソコン。
Utsumi shook her head.
外部には接続されてないの。
外部にはって。じゃあどこに？
私にはよくわからないわ。
Does she mean that there's only a LAN set up here in Sia? This is already more than 10 years in the 21st century. It's hard to believe there's still a computer that's not connected to the internet. I dashed the living area. The PC was there. No, PC isn't quite accurate there. The monitor, keyboard, and mouse were there, but the body of the computer is nowhere to be seen, and the wires gradually disappeared in the direction of the bed. I gripped the mouse and shook it. The PC, which had entered standby mode, resumed its breathing.
なんだって言ってよ。
Silently praying, I clicked on the icon to check network
そう
settings.
でしょ？
There was an access to Sphere's internal LAN, but it didn't connect anywhere outside of it. Just to be sure, I opened the browser window, but it wasn't connected to the internet. The error could not establish connection was displayed on the screen. Utsumi and Hotaru had come over and stood behind me. I turned around and screamed.
他に外部に連絡を取る手段は？
ないわ。物資を運ぶ船が定期的に行き来しているから手紙を渡すことができるけど。
それはいつ？
一月くらい先よ。
そんな。
The mouse slipped from my hand. Looking like a hanged rat, it swung from a pendulum from the side of the desk.
どうして連絡を取りたいの？
避難小屋に私たちがいることを警察に。
I closed my mouth in the middle of the phrase. To explain that situation, I'd have to tell them everything about the Fuyukawa Kokoro who's in the shelter cabin after the plane crash and about the personality exchanges. Will they believe it? It makes me a touch anxious.
驚かないで聞いてください。
Oh no. I explained the personality exchange. After my explanation was finished, Utsumi hugged me. Her head to my breast. She believed me, I thought, but she didn't, but...
それがあなたの冬川心に宿った記憶なのね。
I raised my head.
違います。確かに私の体は山です。
それは冬川心という人格が作り出した幻想よ。珍しい症例だけど DID となった場合、通常は出現した人格は他の人格の存在を知らないものよ。だけど稀に他の人格の存在に気づくことがある。そういった場合、主人格の存在を認めたくなくて副人格が主人格を殺そうと自傷行為に走ることもあるの。結城道君の中に生まれた冬川心という人格も自分が副人格と認めたくなく、自分にも主人格となり得る体があると主張するため人格交換という幻想を作り出した。
違います。 私はちゃんと存在するんです。
そうでしょうね。結城堂君が作り出した冬川心の人格は墜落事故で亡くなった冬川心さんをもとに作られたもの。赤倉岳に自分の体があると主張するのも無理はないわ。
そうじゃなくて。
I bit my lip. She didn't believe me. Utsumi seemed like an expert in psychology. Of course, Utsumi's explanation is always much more unbelievable than something unrealistic like a personality exchange.
鳥ちゃんは
I glanced hopefully at Hotaru. She shook her head, her face slightly pale. Hotaru also doesn't believe me. And then I noticed, but won't Uni believe me? He experienced the crash together with me. Surely if I can make him believe that the inside of Yukido Satoru dwells inside another personality, Fukawa Kokoro, then maybe he'll believe the personality exchange occurred.
ユニは今どこ？
部屋へ行ったと思うけど。
話聞いてくださってありがとうございました。今は信じてもらえないかもしれないけど、本当のことですから。
冬川さん。
I left the living area. Looking for Uni, I went over to his room. This is gonna go strange. I haven't noticed any signs of Uni's presence in the room.
言ったんだろう。
I peeked into the living area and the underground storage area, but I couldn't find Uni. As a last resort, I returned to Satoru's room.
もうこんな大事な時にあの子ってば、避難小屋の自分の命だって危ないかもしれないのに。
Mumbling meaningless words, I heaved a sigh. I felt that he was acting strange yesterday, but if I think about it again, it's no wonder. Doesn't Uni exist in both places? Was it Sphia and the shelter cabin? Moreover, when I met the Uni at Sphia, even though this is a strange way of referring to him, for the first time he vividly remembered the crash. That means that the Unis in both places have that memory.
これってどういうこと？
It was so hard. In some kind of mire. What was engulfing me was a mire called Enigma.
しっかりして。整理してみるのよ。
Probably a good idea. I sat on the bed. I decided to lay out the problematic points one by one. First, problem number 1. Regarding the real situation, the personality exchange phenomenon. According to the note, I consider the existence of this body's personality, Yukido Satoru, affirmed. This is the proof that suggests that the personality exchange is really going on. But why the personality exchange occurred, the reason for it, the principle behind it, and the way to break free from this phenomenon, I didn't have the slightest idea about any of them. Personality exchange. Those are really simple words, but behind them there's a very deep mystery. And the second problem. Why are there two Unis? In both the shelter cabin and Sphia, I've seen Unis in both places, and both of them possess the memory of the crash. I've noticed that due to the personality exchange, my personality seems to be jumping back and forth between these 2 points, but isn't that the big mystery as well? I have 2 hypotheses for it. First, maybe they are twins. Second, we're in the future here. But even if they're identical twins, how likely is it for them to have both their family and given names be the same? Second hypothesis, one of them is a copy of the other. In other words, a clone. No! The law on cloning was passed in this country last year, in 2010. What? Before that, cloning had been banned on the outright on the basis of ethics, but this law was then drafted. There have been several issues surrounding cloning, but it looks like they have finally been resolved, but a small number of clones may have integrated themselves onto our society before the law was established. What? Okay. So it wouldn't be much of a surprise if Uni were a clone. And there's no telling what a clone will do when he's confronted with... Test. Oh, my mic cut out. So it wouldn't be much of a surprise if Uni was a clone, and there's no telling of what a clone would do when he's confronted with the fact that he's a copy of the original. Has my mic continuously been chopping? Or has it been good? If it's been chopping, I'm sorry. And this is Fia, a special psychiatric isolation facility. Could it be that Uni? No, wait. It's too early to reach a conclusion about this. I should confirm all this with Uni himself later. Third, Why does that newspaper article mention the shelter cabin? The newspaper article describing our deaths and place inside the cabin can't be explained by conventional logic at all. How often does it chop? Like, once every 10 minutes or so? Or more often? I'll keep an eye on the levels. And then the fourth problem. What is the real purpose behind this facility? Even though... Oh, Inabushi Keiko, even though the present personality's Suzukage Hotaru has been placed under house arrest here, so this is probably via the location I was heading to. But Satoru and Uni are here too, plus there are only 4 people here altogether, which makes no sense. This should be a medical facility that accepts psychiatric patients. There should be doctors and other staff here. Oh crap. That's not good. Sorry about that, guys. I'll keep an eye on the levels more often. Alright. Where were we? Plus, even if this place is meant to be a self-supporting facility, the level of freedom given to those committed here is much too high. Inabushi Keiko is a murderous monster who killed 12 innocent people. Even she isn't being restrained whatsoever. Any cooking utensil could turn into a deadly weapon in her hands. I was at my wit's end. There are too many mysteries to think about alone. I have a mountain of different things to consider. It feels like I'm being squashed under the mountain. Maybe it's the fact that... that might be better. I'd forgotten about an important thing. Don't I have a valuable partner in all of this? Yeah, it's about time you did. I returned to the table and picked up my pen with my left hand. I also have to ask about the continuation of the phrase, "my body is," that Satoru left unfinished. I braced myself and faced the blank sheet of the note. Only a single line, "Transfer 1:07 p.m." was scribbled on it. Where should I start? Just as I thought that, I flopped down onto the table. Of course, it would be best to start with a greeting. However, I don't like that kind of formality. Good idea. Why don't I make a cute little drawing, in case it seems to be something feminine and ladylike that reflects me. I have confidence in my skills. I may not look like it, but I wanted to be an illustrator when I was in elementary school. Well, what kind of drawing should I go with? For some reason I feel like... oh... one of these two. I don't think tulip is the right idea. Why I'm saving here, not before, and other choices. Probably good. I think this might be important. We'll draw a bunny. To fool their natural predators, they have the trait that allows them to make trails of fake footprints in the snow. When I was a kid, I remember my honest respect for that and thinking, I too want to be intelligent as the rabbit. Rabbits are all definitely about the stars, about the ears, not stars, what? But to hover about the ears is too ordinary, so I'll concentrate on making the face really detailed at first, rather than actually drawing or writing an actual note that would be helpful. Why don't I just draw a bunny? Without wasting any more time, I started to draw. Oh, swap. I'm gonna quick run to the bathroom. I've returned. Did you guys know if it was cutting out in the last stream? If you could tell me, that would be helpful, because then I'll know if it's a mic problem or something else. Because it shouldn't be cutting out. The pen changed into a cup. I was gripping a spoon in my right hand. In my left hand was an aluminum cup. Inside was piping hot rice gruel with seasoning. Unable to comprehend this situation, my dumbfounded voice hung in the air. Beside me, my cup was snatched away. My gruel was snatched away by Mayuzumi. I see some other personality exchange happened. I had returned to the shelter cabin again. The lodge joined with death, filled with the smell of burning firewood combined with the piercing cold. I remembered to check the time on Satsuru's note. I lifted my right arm in order to see my wristwatch, only to see that my beloved watch wasn't there. I impatiently searched within my memory. It wasn't in my pocket. I wonder if I'd lost it. But when? I looked around and then found my wristwatch in an unexpected place. It had been fastened with care to the monk bed's ladder. Without understanding it at all, I removed my wristwatch from the ladder. Did Satoru take it off and fasten it there? While complaining, I fastened the wristwatch back onto my wrist. The time was 1:40. As I smelled the fragrant scent of the rice gruel, my stomach growled. It feels like my stomach is completely empty. Even though I just ate breakfast a moment before, was what I thought, but I realized that was wrong. The one that ate breakfast was Satoru's body, it wasn't my own. Resentfully, I looked in Mayuzumi's direction. However, as she was gulping it down, Mayuzumi finished eating the rest of the gruel. What a fucking asshole. Go fuck yourself. Yomogi's face creased in a frown. From that expression alone, it was clear he wanted to say, wouldn't the uni in the future remember the Kokoro of the present, if we're considering this the present, having these personality switches, or DID? And wouldn't he know that we're being serious about this whole switch thing when we're at Sphia? Like, he should know. He should know what's going on. This Sphia uni that we're switching. Because he's obviously lived through this and knows about Kokoro and how she has these episodes. Saying that, Yomogi held out its cup. I held up my hand in refusal. Mayuzumi made a grip for Yuni's cup, but her hand was slapped away. Mayuzumi's greed makes me want to. Oh yeah, speak out.
ていけないですよ。
Mayuzumi glared at me hatefully. The intensity of that glare made me flinch unintentionally.
綺麗事はやめてよね。自分の食い物取られてムカつくってはっきり。
Mayuzumi quickly stood up from the table and returned to the corner of her room. It seemed that had become her territory. Slipping into the nested blanket she'd built, Mayuzumi hugged her knees and was still. As to comfort me, Yomogi placed his hand on my shoulder. Thus the meal, savage in comparison to those at Svea, ended. Oh dear God, not this again. Cause and reason. Why is it that the flow of time feels so slow when there's nothing to do? In the end, what we call time is a subjective thing, vague and prone to frequent fluctuations. It felt like an eternity had passed since that meal. At long last, the outside had become wrapped in darkness. The four of us occasionally had fragmented conversations with frequent pauses in between, but most of that time was spent in continuing silence. As if starting the night watch, Yomogi had quietly camped himself in front of the drum stove with his eyes shut. It was probably to preserve his strength. Mayuzumi, too, had shut herself up in her own territory, having not moved even once. My stomach, which had gone without dinner, continued to make groaning sounds. Wanting to conserve my energy, I pulled my blanket over my head like the other two had, and kept my eyes shut. Due to the hunger, it felt as if my stomach had a fever. I shook my stomach with my fist and endured hunger.
そうだ。
I thought that the sensation of hunger was a clue as to the true nature of the situation. A personality exchange occurred, and I remembered getting hungry. Even though I didn't know my fill at Svea, in that case, it showed that the entirety of our bodies didn't change as well. It was a strange hypothesis, but with this I could reject the possibility that my body had transformed into that of Yukido Satoru and jumped over there. I advanced my speculation while watching the steam rise from the kettle. It was my brain that felt hunger. The feeling of the need to eat comes from a signal sent out by nerves in the digestive system that is felt as hunger. Then, it would be wrong to think that our brains were switching back and forth, wasn't it? Wouldn't it? As to the likelihood of that, I tried to find some way to verify it, however I concluded that it was impossible to do so. Immediately after transfer, as soon as my body became that of Fukawa Kokoro, if our brains themselves had switched, the blood inside the brain should have accumulated sugar to be used for energy to some extent. In other words, I shouldn't have remembered that I was hungry immediately. It would be appropriate to think that my mind never separated from my body in this world and that the hunger signal was continuously being sent out.
脳が飛ぶって考え自体バカみたいよね。
I murmured in a small voice. Even if my brain jumped into Satoru's skull and perfectly united with the nerve tissue at the spinal cord with a pop, what awaits after that would be a rejection response attack beyond all imagine. Something like swapping brains is nonsense. My consciousness being exchanged. There's no other explanation. But what is consciousness in the first place? The me at Svea was definitely Fukawa Kokoro's personality. It had entered Yukido Satoru, but it was me. If I borrow the figurative comparison from Satoru's note, the driver operating the car known as Yukido Satoru is unmistakably Fukawa Kokoro. The reason I think the me in that world and the me in this world are the same is what? What is me to begin with? Well, thinking this, I came to a single conclusion.
それは記憶が連鎖しているから。でもちょっと待って、記憶って脳に蓄積されるものじゃなかったっけ？
Oh shit. I saw this documentary on TV. As it pointed out, the mechanism called memory is simply put a network of neural circuits. For example, you want to memorize the word apple. When memorizing the word apple, it is necessary for your brain cells to branch into dendrites and lengthen into each other, connected at the synapse. Physically, it is red, circular, and a fruit. A variety of different elements must be remembered in combination for you to be able to recall it. The circuit necessary for remembering apple requires the recollection of the word apple to be completed. In other words, memory is asking, in what pattern are your brain cells connected? It goes without saying, but Satoru's brain and my brain are different. Even so, the memories that were supposed to have been engraved in my brain were only recalled by Satoru's brain. Does that mean that the moment my consciousness flew into Satoru's brain, the neural networks inside his brain changed and connected into the shape of Fukawa Kokoro's memories?
そんなことって可能なわけ？
Or is it that the host computer is in my skull in the shelter cabin and only the client terminal is where Satoru is? Like a remote-controlled robot. Rather than the neural circuitry of the brain changing in the blink of an eye, the possibility of this being the case feels much higher. I wrapped myself in my blanket and laid down with the... My head was starting to hurt from all this thinking. Suddenly I noticed both Yomoki and Yuni letting out a groan similar to mine.
濡れたのが原因なのかな。この小屋に来るとき、雪まみれになっちゃったから。
What?
だろうな。ラジオがあれば情報収集できると思ったんだが。
The two of them were looking at a portable radio they were holding, scrutinizing it carefully. Feeling revitalized, I inquired.
このラジオ、どうしたの？僕のコートのポケットに入ってたんだよ。今気づいたんだ。でも、うまく聞けないんだよ。乾けばなんとかなるかもしれないけどさ。
よし、物は試しだ。分解してみるか。
Why do men always recklessly try to take things apart?
ねじ回しがないよ。
ナイフで代用しよ
Yomogi seemed almost somehow cheerful and took a survival kit from his breast pocket. He tried to unscrew the radio using the knife's edge, but the knife was too large in the first place, so it was a fierce battle.
ダメだ。分解は無理だな。
がっかり。
仕方ないさ。
Having expressed his disappointment, Yuni returned the radio to his pocket. And with his hand in his pocket, he put on a smile as if he were playing a trick.
ねえ、ココロン。
What's up? Yuni rushed over and brought his face close to mine.
何？ちょっと来て。
He said, lowering his voice and winking. Pulling at my hand, Yuni led me toward the basement storeroom. Oh no, what's going on? Trust and deception?
どうしたのよ？
Fuck. When we reached the underground storeroom, Yuni glanced around to confirm that no one else was there. And then, with a smile that looked as if he'd come up with a good prank, he put his hand in his pocket.
あげるよ。
In the palm of his hand were two
ポ
candies.
ケットに入ってたんだけど、人数分なかったからさ。二人で黙って食べちゃおうよ。でも、黙って食べるのは？ココロン、お昼にご飯食べられなかったでしょ？だから、ね、それに、これは僕のだからね。トンビに飴玉さらわれる前に、一つずつ食べちゃおう。
Tonbi probably refers to Maizumi. I thought it'd be unfair to the others upstairs, but Fukawa Kokoro's body was hungry. It's not like we could break up hard candy and divide it between us.
ね、申し訳ないけど、いただいちゃおうかな。そうこなくちゃ。ココロンはどっち舐めたい？メロン味とパイン味があるんだよ。
Not pineapple.
そうね。
We don't like pineapple.
メロン味をもらっちゃおうかな。お、高級志向。
Yuni placed the hard candy firmly in my hand. Somehow it felt as if we were in a candy store.
ありがとう。
I unwrapped the candy and tossed it into my mouth. It may have been a melon taste artificially produced using sweeteners, but it was very delicious.
そういえばココロンってメロン味は大丈夫なの？
Yeah, but not pineapple. Yuni smiled while popping the pineapple candy into his mouth.
大丈夫って嫌いなのかもって思って。どうして？ほら、ココロンってキュウリ嫌いでしょ？メロン味ってキュウリに蜂蜜かけた味って言うじゃない。
Oh shit.
ココロンみたいな血糖症付きのキュウリ嫌いはメロンもダメなのかと思ったよ。キュウリとメロンは全然違うよ。どのぐらい違うかというと、
It was a trap.
食べ物かそうじゃないかぐらいの違いがあるわ。ココロンってば前世でキュウリにいじめられたんじゃない？そうかもね。
We both rolled the candy around in our mouths and
ねえ
smiled.
ココロン、結婚しよっか。
What?
あ？今なんておっしゃいました？結婚しようって言ったんだけど。 どうしてそうなるわけ？いきなり何言っちゃってるのよこの子は。
My face turned red as I replied. Uni's sudden request had parried me, and I was suddenly angry.
そういうのはお互いの了承と同意があって初めて成立するものであり、ココロンは僕のこと嫌いな、そんなことあるわけないじゃない。じゃあ好きってことだよね。
Oh my
僕は
gosh.
ココロンのこと好き。はい、これで成立だね。ちっかー。もう冗談なのにそこまでムキにならなくたっていいじゃん。冗談にも程があるの。そっかな。でも仮に私とユニが結婚したとしたら、私はクスだ心になるのか。そうとは限らないよ。知らないの？夫婦別姓の法案2008年に可決されたじゃん。
Ah, now that he mentions it, that's right. But when I get married, I want to change my name to be the same as my spouse's. It's a dream of mine. After a moment of friendly chatter, I gathered my resolve and decided to ask him. It's none of these. I'll ask Chat. Chat, what do you think I should choose here? I'm fairly confident he's neither of these, but... what should I do? Unless you just want me to randomly choose. Or choose the one I think I should. Or Chat might be dead. Okay, I think Chat is dead. So, if Chat is dead, we're going to go with... random.
ユニ、あなたって双子とかじゃないよね。
Uni exists as two people. The simplest solution would be if he were a twin. If he were a twin, that would take care of the contradiction of witnessing them both at Sphia and here. However,
僕は双子じゃないよ。そっか。
it seems things don't always work out so easily in this world. Uni put his hand on his shoulder, placed his hand on the ladder, grinning like the Cheshire
そ
Cat.
れじゃあ僕上に行くね。二人っきりでずっと下にいたら怪しまれちゃうからさ。いっちいことしてるんじゃないかって。
Oh my gosh.
子供が何言ってるの？
After I said that, Uni looked up at me with a glance that gave me chills.
子供かどうか試してみる。
What the fuck? 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 My heart started beating harder at his strangely seductive way of speaking. My cheeks reddened ever so slightly.
もうココロンこそ本当に20歳？実は子供なんじゃないの？こーら冗談だよ。怒らないでココ。
One second. Thought. Oh. Alright. Sorry about that. I'm back. I don't know how long I was gone for, but some girls in apartment room 2 floors above us, their cat fell through a hole in their bathroom floor and into the walls. And they thought maybe the cat fell all the way down to the basement. I'm on the 1st floor. And the cat just fell down into, like, the walls. Through a hole in the floor. What the fuck? The poor cat. And they can't find it. They asked the people above us if it was there in the 2nd floor, and they said they didn't know where the cat was either. They couldn't hear it. It's fucking Schrodinger's cat. What if we have a dead cat in our basement? I don't think a cat would die from falling. There's a cat stuck in the walls. Schrodinger's cat. It's not Schrodinger's cat. Sorry. I don't know. Kind of freaked out by this. Oh my gosh, poor cat. I think I should... Uni apologized and teasingly stuck out his tongue. And keeping one hand on the ladder, he pushed his hair back with the other. He did it as if he were some female judo athlete. Pointing at the clothing at his chest. And oddly precocious the words and climbed up on the ladder. There was a single reason I thought he had a twin, because I had witnessed 2 unis. If he doesn't have a twin, how else is it possible to encounter the same person in 2 places, but both this shelter cabin and Svea? Because one's in the future, and one's not. I'd unconsciously crunched the candy into tiny pieces while pondering, even though I wanted to take my time eating it. I rolled the candy that had become small as grain around the top of my tongue and enjoyed the fruit flavor, and then I realized. I talked about them when we were eating breakfast at Svea. Other than that time, I talked about which foods I hate. In other words, does that mean that this uni I had breakfast with at Svea and the uni that just gave me candy held the same memories? Just a moment ago I was thinking something similar. About the relationship between memory and the brain. About the personality jumping to somewhere else in the world. My heart jumped when I realized one possibility. Was Uni experiencing personality exchange just like us? I wonder when a personality exchange, perhaps Uni's personality was undergoing exchanges as well? I don't think so. No, I can't say whether they're at the same time or not. And transferring between the shelter cabin and Svea like we were. The Uni that heard me speak at Svea had jumped over here. But how can a Uni be both here and at Svea? In Satoru's in my case, we exchange bodies. Perhaps in Uni's case, he occasionally gets the same body. I was amazed at the silliness of my own idea. As Uni's memory remains continuous between the shelter cabin and Svea, maybe his personality was jumping like ours were, or so I deduced. However, that deduction didn't provide any answers about the mysterious phenomenon of seeing Uni in both places. Uni said he wasn't a twin, and if that's the case, then having an identical body over on the other side is impossible, isn't it? Who's that? Uni even had 2 bodies at the same time. It might be that I'm simply misunderstanding things. When I'm at Svea, I have no idea what the situation is in the shelter cabin. When I'm at the shelter cabin, I have no idea what the situation is at Svea. Which means, and this is the very most a hypothesis, what Uni has experienced is, to borrow a word from science fiction, teleportation, is it not? No! You're a fucking idiot! Moreover, it can be considered that at the same time that my personality transfers, both Uni's personality and my body transfer as well. In other words, Satoru doesn't meet with Uni. Uni is also constantly by my side. On top of that unexplainable phenomenon, to pile on even more mysterious logic, a cruelly distorted thought came to me. Right now I can think of only one explanation for the events happening around me, and what is that? There is a way to verify it. It would be best just to ask Uni, but I wonder. Uni hasn't shown any signs of being confused. You'd usually want to consult with others if you fall into a situation where you're teleporting between places. Unless I get my hands on some solid proof, I hold off on asking Uni. Those were my thoughts. I won't confuse him unnecessarily. Be a fucking idiot, because we're on the brink of an extreme situation here, which could be called a disaster. I nodded myself, and nodded to myself once, and put my hand on the ladder to climb up. When I go up, I see Yomogi sitting in a chair doing knife maintenance. He's wiping a blade off of the knife with the cloth. Wondering what he was doing, I went to Yomogi's side.
お手入れですか？
ああ、さっきラジオを分解しようとして使っただろう。油がついたかもしれないからな。使い終わったら汚れを拭き取る。ナイフにとっての常識だ。
Yomogi carefully continued to wipe the blade as he said that.
ナイフってのはデリケートな代物なんだ。きちんと日頃から手入れしてあげないといざって時役に立たなくなるからね。
After he finished wiping, Yomogi started to carefully check the knife. Seems it was perfect. He nods in satisfaction. Then, sheathing the knife, he placed it on the surface of the table.
さて、ストーブの火を点検しておくか。
Leaving the knife where it was, Yomogi walked over to the stove. I picked up the knife out of curiosity. It was considerably heavy. Its weight was much greater than I imagined from its appearance. I pulled it out from the sheath. The overall length was about 34.5 centimeters. The blade itself was about 20 centimeters in length. The blade was thick, about 5 millimeters at the point end.
すごい、よく切れそう。っていうか、これで切られたら痛そう。
It's like a combat knife used by French mercenary troops.
危ないから気をつけ。
Yomogi noticed that I'd taken the knife out without permission and told me to take care.
大丈夫ですよ。
I say baselessly. I softly touched the blade of the knife. The chilly coolness transferred to my fingers.
それにしてもすごいナイフですね。
触れるんじゃない。せっかく拭いたばかりなのに。
Idiot continues to be an idiot.
指の油がつくじゃないか。
I tried to apologize, and at that instant... Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, no. Bad time to switch. Alarm. When I came to, Utsumi was standing in front of me. I jumped again. Flustered, I looked at the alarm clock above the bed. It was 6:03. As I turned to look, Utsumi had suddenly grasped my arm. Her face had a ghastly expression, one more of anxiety.
何かね。こう
胸騒ぎ？
Utsumi nudged slightly.
嫌な予感が。
Oh shit.
例えば、そう、今にも地震が来そうな気配。
地震？
ええ。私の気のせいならいいんだけど。
Holy fuck.
ここって北海道ですよね。
そうよ。稚内の沖合の島。
Oh my gosh.
北海道って地震多いんですか？私のイメージでは地震イコール東海地方って感じがして。
地震は日本中起こるわ。北海道でも大きな被害を出した地震が発生してる。奥尻島の地震とかね。
I remember hearing about that earthquake. With a kind smile, Utsumi
ごめん
said,
なさい。気のせいだったらいいの。不安にさせたら謝って。
いいえ。
また冬川さんになったのね。
This time I answered with a yes. It felt as if the floor had disappeared. My body floated as if I were falling. No, a big tremor, it's an earthquake.
やっぱり。
I caught the staggering Utsumi in my arms. Huddling together, the two of us crouched to protect ourselves against falling objects. Crashing sounds came from things falling in the kitchen. This was probably a pretty severe one. It's going to be a lot of trouble to clean up. The moment I had heard that thought. Along with the ear-splitting sounds, all the lights disappeared. Fuck! The earthquake caused a blackout? Oh my gosh. We heard a scream from the distance. It was Uni's voice. Hotaru was probably screaming voicelessly as well.
言ってあげなきゃ。
Within the violent shaking, Utsumi tried to stand. I grabbed onto her
ダ
arm.
メ。今歩き回っては危険です。
でもあの子たちが。
揺れが収まったら行ってあげましょう。
Oh my gosh. The intense tremors settled down after about 30 seconds. Utsumi stands up to snap to her feet and flies out of the room. I followed after her. Fuck, 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 fuck. Save, save, save. We'll go to the person we heard that screamed.
私、ユニの方見てきます。
Without turning, and ran to Hotaru's room.
無事。
I came flying into Uni's room. He was crouched in the corner of the room with the blanket pulled over his head. It was like when we first met in this room. Face distorted in terror, large teardrops flowing from his eyes. It's PTSD, the earthquake.
怖いよ。心。もう大丈夫。
He may be remembering the plane crash. The sensation of falling with a sudden jerk was similar to the gravity loss on the airplane.
心。僕を一人ぼっちにしないでよ。大丈夫だよ。ここにいる。手繋いでてあげるから。
I gripped onto Uni's palm firmly with my hand, just like that time in the crash.
あなたは心じゃないよ。
Crying, Uni clung to me.
わかったよ。泣かないで。泣かないで。大丈夫だからね。
Still crying, Uni hugged me tight. I rubbed his small back again and
ユ
again.
ニ君は無事だった。
Yes. Utsumi had entered the room. She was gently holding Hotaru's shoulder. Hotaru's face was blue, but it didn't seem as if she was injured.
なんとか無事です。
Somewhat relieved look had appeared on Utsumi's face, but her expression was still stiff.
でもまだ安心はできない。
どうしてですか？
津波が来ないとも限らないから。
What?
津波。
The image of a tsunami in the sea during winter didn't connect immediately.
奥尻の地震では津波によって大きな被害が出たの。アオサギ島も地理的に同じような位置関係にある。
Fuck.
安心はできないわ。
Fuck. Hotaru grabbed onto Utsumi's arm with the anxiety on her face, while gently stroking her head.
大丈夫よ。
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
私が守ってあげるから最後まで。ちゃんと。
僕たち
No, we're not.
死んじゃうの？そんなわけないでしょ。絶対に平気だよ。
Feeling Uni's hand shaking, I clasped it tightly once
津
again.
波を防ぐ手立てはないんですか？高いところに登るとか。時計台はどうかな？あそこなら。
Utsumi shook her head from side to
兵
side.
隊は登る方法がわからないの。
え？わからない？
ええ。結城道君なら知ってるかもしれないけど。
However, Satoru's personality isn't here right
そ
now.
れじゃあ津波が来ないことを祈るしかないってこと？
そうなるわ。
In slower cases, it can take a tsunami over 10 minutes to come. In the darkness, we made our way to the living area mostly by touch. Because the living area had a large window, it was slightly brighter there. Oh no, is this gonna go Ever 17 style? Flood? Fucking flood in every game. Tableware had scattered on the floor of the kitchen and living area in the shock of the earthquake. There were also broken objects there. Things like kitchen knives had fallen too, so it was dangerous. Looking at it made me once again realize that a huge earthquake had occurred. The television was still plugged into the power supply, but the blackout had made the screen go dark. We were unable to obtain any information. With B holding onto Uni's trembling shoulder, we gathered ourselves together and held our breath. Thinking we might be able to hear the sound of a tsunami approaching, we strained our ears. The 10 or so minutes that passed felt like an eternity. What we heard outside was only the roaring of the raging snowstorm. The ominous sound of an approaching wave never arrived. Thank God.
僕たち助かったのかな？心。
He called me Kokoro. He'd only ever called me that when he was scared, but it made me really happy whenever he called me Kokoro. Grasping his hand, I opened my mouth. We couldn't stay together until the end of the time at the crash, but we're here together, right? That's what I intended to say. However, my conscience was cut off there. Oh, fuck. What the fuck? A taste of the primordial sea. Again, the sensation, the boundary line of the body being lost and everything melting away, a floating feeling where you don't even know whether you're facing up or down. That and there's no unease. That and there's no unease? Interesting. An absolute feeling of relief rolls over me. For all eternity. If only I could remain in this time for all eternity. This court of group consciousness. When I came to, I was inside the shelter cabin. Wrapped in a blanket, I was watching the fire in the stove. I should have been shivering in fear of earthquakes and tsunamis just a few seconds ago, but the current me was shivering from the cold instead. In many ways, I had no time to relax. If things continue this way, sooner or later I'm likely just to collapse, both mentally and emotionally. Right, I needed to check the time. I looked down at the watch on my right wrist. Huh? It was gone again. Geez, just what is going on? Getting irritated. I looked at the face of the watch. The hands were pointing to 6:36.
どうした？ブツブツ独り言言って。
Yomogi peeped at my face, his expression worried.
なんでもありません。ちょっと考え事してて。
その口調は冬川さんか。
はい。
Looking as if he wanted to say, oh brother, Yomogi scratched his head. Then his bearded face distorted into a forced smile.
晩飯は乾パンだ。味気ないが食っといた方がいい。君は朝飯抜きなんだしな。
I had only a single lick of hard candy, so my stomach was painfully empty.
いただきます。
Yomogi handed me a can of biscuits and a cup of chamomile tea. I tossed the biscuits into my mouth. Indeed, they had no taste at all. I had a bite of one yesterday too, and I definitely couldn't call them delicious. I guess expecting the emergency rations to be delicious was too much to ask for, though. But even then, I had to eat. If I didn't eat, I wouldn't live. I washed down the biscuits with chamomile tea.
なんでここに置かれているのがカモミールティーなのかわかるかい？
No.
鎮静作用があるって言ってましたけど、何か理由があるんですか？
Why?
合ってないような理由だけどね。カモミールティーは不眠にも効くんだよ。
Okay.
こんな極限状況じゃ神経が高ぶって寝られなくなるだろう。少しでも落ち着いて安眠ができるようにっていう配慮だね。
でも冬山で寝ちゃうのって危険じゃないですか？
Perhaps.
よくコントなんかで眠ったら死ぬぞビシッバシッなんて。
確かに低体温症が進むと急激に眠くなったりするんだが、そうでない限りは睡眠はとった方がいいんだ。眠らないと体力を著しく消耗する。カモミールティーが置かれているのはそれなりに理にかなっているというわけ。
Saying that, Yomogi stuck a finger deep into the can of biscuits. He picked out a piece of rock sugar and placed it in his cup. And then he smiled at me, as if to say I should try doing the same. Just as I had thought, or no, just as he had, I had tried putting a lump of rock sugar into my cup of chamomile tea. It was a little hot, but I stirred it with my fingers. The sweetness added to the chamomile tea felt as though it was penetrating every corner of my tired body.
よもぎさんっていろいろ詳しいんですね。
いろいろは詳しくないよ。僕が知ってるのは山のことだけだ。いや、山のことに詳しいというのもちょっと語弊があるな。僕は山のことしか知らないんだ。下界のこと、人々の流行、政治、経済、山以外のことは何もわからない。特に
A voice rang from the corner of the room and interrupted his speech.
そんなに山に詳しいんだったらこの状況を何とかしなさいよ。ここはあんたのホームグラウンドなんでしょ山男。
Yomogi shrugged his shoulders.
特に女という生き物が何よりも僕にはわからないね。
Mayuzumi, who until now had been lying around wrapped in her blanket, raised herself up. Raising one eyebrow, she stared at Yomogi.
いつの時代を生きてるの？明治？大正？それともジュラ紀？
白亜紀の生まれだ。
三葉虫か。
口を突っ込んでおくが、三葉虫は白亜紀じゃないぞ。
あのね、女という生き物が僕にはわからないなんて今時流行らないって言ってんの。
だから流行り廃りのことは何も知らないって言っただろう。いいから黙って寝てろよ、舞泉。
私に命令すんじゃねえよ。
あのな、 脅すわけじゃないが、冬山の寒さってのは正真正銘かけねなしの死神だ。弱いやつから順番に、そして確実に命を奪っていく。情け容赦は一切しない。
Mayuzumi faltered at his grave tone and retreated to her usual sitting position.
無駄なエネルギーを使うのはやめるんだ。火がなくなる前に体力を温存しておけ。
ちょっと待ってよ。火がなくなるってどういう意味？勝手に絶やすんじゃないわよ。
薪の量は限られてるんだ。お前が寒い寒いってうるさいから節約ことなんだ。明日か明後日には確実に。
冗談よしてよ。そうなる前に何とかしなさいよ。
なんとかって言われても僕にどうしろと。
Wearing her blanket like a mantle, Mayuzumi pointed to the door of the
助け
cabin.
を呼びに行きなさい。今すぐに。
はいはい、了解しましたよ。
Yomogi went down into the storeroom with his bag in hand. Without hesitating, he gathered all the mountain climbing equipment and returned.
それじゃあ行ってくるよ。
Surprised at Yomogi's words, It's probably...
まゆずみさん、
ちょっと何大きな声出してるのよ。
Mayuzumi opened her eyes as if surprised.
手を呼びに行くなんてできるわけないじゃないですか。こんな吹雪の中、よもぎさんだって死んじゃいます。あなた、そんなこともわからないんですか。
何よその言い方。この男が行くって言ってるんだから問題ないでしょ。
ああ、舞泉の言う通りだ。せっかく行く気になったんだから止めないでくれよ、冬川さん。
Saying that, Yomogi raised a finger in front of Mayuzumi's face.
下山に1週間。
With a quick movement, he raised another
救
finger.
助隊を連れて戻ってくるまでにさらに1週間。
Ignoring the surprise in Mayuzumi's face, voice, Yomogi put his hands together.
悪いな、舞泉。そういうわけで2週間ばかり留守にするよ。誰か来たらそう伝えといてくれ。
Right in front of me, as I dumbfounded, Yomogi's hand reached for the door.
待ちなさいよ。
Oh, thank God. I think that was the good decision. Flustered, Mayuzumi closed the door. She grabbed Yomogi's arms and yelled.
私たちを見殺しにするっていうの？
お前が助けを呼びに行けって言ったんだろうが。
そんなにかかるとは思わなかったのよ。
Yomogi threw his bag to the floor and glared at Mayuzumi.
雪山ではな、たった一人の勝手な行動がチーム
Yes, thank
全体を
God.
死に追いやるんだ。
Get that selfish shit out of here.
行動だけじゃない。お前みたいなバカなことを言う奴が一人でもいると、チーム全体の連帯感に亀裂が生じるんだ。
そんなに目くじら立てて怒らなく。
Mayuzumi looked down and wrapped herself in her blanket as if sulking. Going back to her territory, she sat down and hugged her knees. As if to calm himself down, Yomogi took a deep breath and sat next to Mayuzumi. And shifting his tone from violent to gentle, he continued.
頼むよ、舞泉。生き延びたいんだったら僕の言うことを聞いてくれ。君が男の言うことを聞くのが嫌いな女性だってのはうすうす分かってる。でも雪山で生き抜くためには統一された意志が必要なんだ。輪の乱れをついてそこから死が忍び寄ってくる。それが雪山なんだよ。不平や不満は助かったらいくらでも聞いてやるから。
Mayuzumi had buried her face in her knees, but now cast a sideline at Yomogi. Perhaps Yomogi's words had moved her heart. Probably not. That's what I thought, but...
なんだか疲れちゃった。ねえ、顔洗いたいんだけど、お湯沸かしてくれない？
Oh my gosh. Fuck off.
てめえ
Yomogi clenched his fist and made a face as if saying, "You weren't a woman, I'd really let you have it." Trembling and quivering,
まあまあ、よもぎさん、落ち着いて。
周り受けちゃってばっかみたい。冗談よ。
Mayuzumi put the rock sugar from her biscuits into her mouth and chewed on it as she jumped into the top bunk. It must have been vexing for her to have been defeated by Yomogi's sound arguments. Eyes fixed on the wall, Mayuzumi wasn't looking this way. Yomugi released his clenched fist and took a deep breath.
なあ、冬川さん。どうして僕はあんな女を助けちまった。
We're gonna be a good person.
助けなかったらよもぎさんらしくないですよ。
When I tell him my true feelings, Yomugi's shoulders droop.
やめてくれよ。そんなこと言われたら、いざって時に君を見捨てられなくなる。
見捨てるつもりなんですか？
助かる可能性がなくなったらな。
つまり助かる可能性がある限りは助けてくれるんですね。
そうとも言うが、その言い方は少々照れくさいね。
Yomugi scratched the tip of his nose and sat down in front of the stove. He was still wearing all the equipment he had prepared to go for help.
荷物は片付けたらどうですか？助けを呼びに行くわけじゃないんですから。
I said, growing anxious. I didn't think he was going to leave us, but the fact that he remained ready to go at any time scared me. If he disappeared, I didn't think we'd make it by ourselves.
いや、どうせ出かけるつもりだったからな。
どこへですか？
そんな泣きそうな顔すんなよ、冬川さん。
だって
墜落機のところへさ、残骸のどこかに無線機があるはずだ。
And dead bodies.
フライトレコーダーとかは別電源になっているって言うだろう。無線機の最も無傷で残っている確率はゼロに等しいが、試してみるか。
If you go, take us with you.
他にも食料や役に立ちそうなものが転がってるかもしれないし。
でもこんな吹雪の中出て行ったら。
吹雪が多少収まったらの話だよ。今出て行ったら僕でも死んでしまうよ。
As I ran my hand down his chest, I looked up at him.
くれぐれも気をつけてくださいね。ここではあなただけが頼りなんだから。
Yomugi scratched his nose in embarrassment and nodded while looking away.
その飛行機の残骸を捜索しに行く時のこと。もちろん私も協力したいのは山々なんだけど。
ああ、そんなことは気にすることないさ。
そうじゃないの。そういう意味じゃなくて、なんていうか、もしかしたらその時私は私じゃないかもしれない。
有機道君のことか。
そうだから、もしもその時私が悟だったとしたら、彼にこう言っといて。よもぎさんにできる限り協力しなさい。
I said it seriously, but Yomugi raised his voice in laughter.
自分の口からそんなことは言えないよ。
それもそうね。
Yomugi slapped his knee.
あ、それで大事なことを忘れてたよ。
大事なことって？
Pocket, Yomugi
い
said.
や、君らはどうなのかわからないけど、僕にとっては君らは一人なんだよ。人格が変わったからといって別人として認識するのは難しいんだ。何しろ顔や姿形が同じなのだから。
何が言いたいんですか？
Yomugi, who was fumbling around in his pocket, took out a thin piece of paper.
これだ。
What is it? He handed it over to me. It was a thin piece of paper you peel off the surface of cardboard boxes. Several characters had been written on it.
有機道君に頼まれてたんだ。
これメモ。
Satoru had lent me a note here as
冬
well.
川さんが戻ってきたらそれを渡してくれってね。でも冬川さんは扉を開けてただいまってな具合に戻ってくるわけじゃない。だからすっかり忘れていたってわけ。言ってることわかるかな？
はい、なんとなく。
Yomugi seemed to want to make an excuse for why he had forgotten to pass me the note, but that didn't matter at all. In an emergency situation like this, asking for perfection is unfair. I didn't have any intention of blaming him. Instead, I was unbearably anxious about Satoru's note.
メモ読みたいんで。
ああ。
What does it say? What does it say? Separating myself from Yomugi, I sat down on the bed. I looked at this scrap of paper. There was only a single line. Please listen to the voice recorder. I looked in my pocket. I took out the palm-sized voice recorder and pressed the switch. I tried playing it back. Soon I heard a voice coming from the small speaker of the recorder.
心、さっきのメッセージの続きだ。
It's my voice. My voice, which I don't remember recording. It was proof that during the time in which I had no memory of being in the shelter cabin, it was being operated by Satoru. I continued listening, growing excited.
またいつ転移が起こるかわからないから、要件だけ話すぞ。いいか。実はどうやら俺は
That's right, the note had ended there. What was up with Satoru's body, I wonder?
何者かに命 命を狙われているらしい。狙われてる？どういうことよ。
The voice message continued. I continued listening anxiously, but... Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Why does it switch at the most inopportune time? All of a sudden, my field of vision turned pitch black. I felt a sharp pain running down my left arm as if it was burning. I screamed, not knowing what was going on. What? What was happening? My heart was beating quickly. Because of the pain in my left arm, I wasn't able to think. What was happening? It hurts. What does this mean? Why is it so dark? Where's the electricity? It hurts. Somebody. The inside of my head was falling into panic. Finally, I noticed that my posture was weird. I'd been standing until just a moment ago, but now I was crawling on the floor as though groveling. Had I fallen over? But moreover, this pain was no laughing matter. It wasn't on the same level as the pain you just feel from bumping into something. What the fuck? My eyes caught something in the darkness. Was someone there? I couldn't tell. Jesus Christ. Help. Help, help. I couldn't decide whether there was anyone there or not because my eyes were in the depths of the darkness. It looked like someone was there. It felt like no one was there. I was so agitated I couldn't even tell. I had to run, I instinctively thought. I didn't know what it was, but right now it felt like my life was at risk. I endured the pain and crawling away on all fours I made my escape. Fuck. I reached the large window that faced the terrace. There I finally noticed I was inside Sphia. I transferred again. A faint light shone in from outside. Beyond the window was only gray. The snow continued to blow. I deliriously beat on the window. But I didn't know how to open the window. I timidly turned... Fuck. None of the places I glanced at had any sign of people in them, but they may have just been hiding. What should I do? It was dangerous just to stand there. But where to? Where was the safest? Oh my gosh. What do I do? What do I do? You know what I do? I figure out what I do next time. I'm not ready to make this decision. If you're still watching, thank you for watching the stream. If you're watching it on demand, thank you for watching. Leave a comment if you want to let me know anything. I'll respond as soon as I can. And I hope you enjoyed the video. But yeah, my name is Escalating, and thank you for watching Remember11. Peace.